At the same time, there were also people who came endlessly. However, when they saw Chen Bai and He Feng, they retreated. Even the small team of peak stage Saint Kings did not stop. Because Chen Bai and He Feng could destroy their strength. When people came, Chen Bai did not say anything. However, He Feng would chase them away. He Feng did not directly kill them. It was fine if they left, but if they did not leave, he would fight. It was that simple. He Feng's method of chasing people away was very unique. When people came, he would reach out and point into the distance. Then, he would point at the long black blade on his shoulder. His meaning was clear. If they did not leave, he would use his blade. Chen Bai's gaze was fixed on the no beginning formation disc. He did not pay attention to the people who came. Looks like these two fellows are also livestock in the Sky Dome realm. They are very intimidating, Zhu Jiuyan said. Strength. They are strong, Night Sorrow said. Then, Night Sorrow saw Tsang Weiyue arrive with a small team. So it's Brother Chen and Brother He Feng. Tsang Weiyue did not leave like the others. Instead, he spoke. Is there a problem? This is my and sixth senior brother's territory. Do you want to leave or fight? He Feng tightened his grip on his blade. He knew Tsang Weiyue. He Feng, you don't have to be so domineering. If it were you, I wouldn't care. However, I admire Brother Chen very much. I won't steal anything. Can I just watch? Tsang Weiyue said. If you dare to play tricks, there will be no place for you in the Sky Dome realm. I, Chen Bai, will say this. I believe the Grey Cloud Sovereign will not interfere with the matters of the younger generation. Of course, it doesn't matter if he interferes. Chen Bai turned his head and glanced at Tsang Weiyue. Killing intent appeared on his originally calm face. Tsang Weiyue narrowed his eyes and did not say anything. He knew what Chen Bai meant. If it was a competition of the younger generation, the Grey Cloud sect would not be able to defeat the Boundless Mountain. If a King Realm expert participated, then the Boundless Mountain would have a King Realm expert. Not to mention, in the highest level competition, the Boundless Mountain would be stronger. Huh, maybe your big brother Tsang Wushang can fight. You really can't. He Feng laughed. Tsang Weiyue looked at He Feng but did not say anything. Damn, he's like a grandson now. He's not a man at all. Why don't we just cut him off? Zhu Jiuyan cursed. She despised people like Tsang Weiyue the most. He's a half-step king. It's useless to cut him off. As long as he's alive, his body will be unharmed, Night Sorrow said with a smile. If he doesn't leave, it will be more difficult for you to get the fruit and run away, Zhu Jiuyan said. Well, maybe. Regardless, I'm definitely getting my fruit, Night Sorrow said. Time continued to slip away. More people came. They were either chased away by He Feng or had made a promise. Only then were they qualified to watch. A group of people also came from the profound sky world. The leader was a peak Saint King. He was not forced back by He Feng. The two of them fought. He was not a half-step king, but he was very strong. Although he did not have the will of the world, his sword techniques were very sharp. He was on par with He Feng. He Feng, come back. Profound Sky Sword Technique. Are you from the Profound Sky Dynasty? Chen Bai called out to He Feng. Profound Sky Dynasty, Qianyu, said the man fighting He Feng. Why hashtag head K hair /P This man looked only 27. He was dressed in white and was very handsome. Although he was facing Chen Bai and He Feng, his battle intent was high. Okay, recover. I, Chen Bai, will fight you. If you win, my junior brother and I will leave, Chen Bai said to Qianyu. He wanted to have a gentleman's battle. Sky Pillar Saint King, you're so bold. If I, Qianyu, lose, I'll leave. If I win, I'll bring people to help you guard this place. I want 1/3 of the limitless longevity fruit. You can take the rest, said Qianyu. Chen Bai was bold, and so was Qian Yu. Also, without Chen Bai and He Feng bringing people to trap the king, no one had a chance. Deal. Chen Bai nodded. Qian Yu recovered for 4 hours. When he reached his peak state, he nodded to Chen Bai. He Feng, pay attention, said Chen Bai to He Feng. With a wave of his hand, a sword appeared in his hand. Fighting with the Sky Pillar Saint is a great joy in life. Make your move. Qian Yu nodded. There was no nervousness on his face. Instead, he was excited. It was the feeling of meeting a worthy opponent. Not bad. These are all men. At least they can make people look at them. Cowards like Zhang Guiyue are annoying, said Zhu Jiuyun. Speak. Chapter 997. While Zhu Jiuyun was speaking, Qian Yu and Chen Bai began fighting. The battle situation was just as Night Sorrow had expected. Chen Bai was strong and had dabbled in the will of thunder. Be it defense or attack, they were both very strong. However, Qian Yu was no weakling. He waved the long sword in his hand, one strike after another, forming a sword stance. The sword stance was continuous, stabilizing his weakness of not having a will of his own. That's right. Cultivators from large factions have extraordinary foundations. Yi Shang muttered in a low voice. The battle was in a stalemate, but Night Sorrow could see that Qian Yu had no chance of winning. His attacks could not break through Chen Bai's earth-space defense. In addition, Chen Bai's sword technique with the support of thunder attribute was extremely strong. What's the result if you go up against any of them? Zhu Jiuyun asked. She was concerned about Night Sorrow's situation against Chen Bai and the others. Hee, it's all right. If we don't go up against each other, who knows the result? Night Sorrow said with a smile. Hearing you say that, I know. If you're not their match, you'll say it, Zhu Jiuyun said. She knew Night Sorrow very well. If he could not, Night Sorrow would say it. If he did not say it was impossible, it meant that he had some confidence. After the battle went on for 15 minutes, Chen Bai's offense suddenly changed. He used an earth attribute attack, which was gravity suppression. At this time, Qian Yu's sword stance was not as smooth. With a flaw, he was no match for Chen Bai and was directly suppressed by Chen Bai. In a moment, Chen Bai's sword chi broke through Qian Yu's defense and pierced through his chest. After injuring Qian Yu, Chen Bai did not continue to pursue. You may leave. Qian Yu will remember your mercy. After saying this, Qian Yu led his men and left. Is this the battle of gentlemen? Zhu Jiuyun asked Night Sorrow. Yes, Chen Bai has a great advantage, but he didn't go for the kill. Of course, he might have other concerns. After all, there is no need to kill a genius from a sovereign faction without enmity. Most importantly, Qian Yu didn't show any hostility, Night Sorrow said. After defeating Qian Yu, Chen Bai meditated to recover. He did not consume a lot of energy, but in a place like the No Territory, it was very important to maintain his peak state at all times, because no one knew what would happen next. While Chen Bai was meditating, He Feng was extremely vigilant. His hand that was holding the battle blade loosened and tightened. He was ready to fight at any time. Night Sorrow then glanced at the limitless longevity fruit. The limitless fruit's ripening period was the most crucial moment. However, it seemed that Chen Bai and senior brother Chen Bai were in charge at the moment. Currently, the leaders here were Chen Bai and He Feng with their servants. There were also 2 other groups. One group was led by Zhang Guiyue, and the other group was led by a woman. However, they had all promised not to take the initiative to snatch the limitless longevity fruit. If not for this promise, Chen Bai and He Feng would not have allowed them to stay here. In addition, if Chen Bai and senior brother Chen Bai did not hold them back, King Vajra would sweep the others. Night Sorrow began to refine pills in the spacetime pagoda when he had nothing to do. He turned some materials into pills. In any case, his clone could not cultivate. Zhu Jiuyun helped Night Sorrow make a pot of tea or something. Her main body was cultivating, and her clone had nothing to do. In the blink of an eye, a few months had passed. Everyone was a little anxious because the 1-year deadline was getting closer and closer, and the limitless longevity fruit had not ripened yet. Night Sorrow was also a little anxious because the 1-year deadline was a limit for everyone. In the past, even if the people who came had obtained the limitless longevity fruit, it was still not ripe. However, the limitless longevity fruit in front of them was about to ripen. Who would be willing to take it raw? The profits would be reduced by a portion. At this time, the 9 domain sources told Night Sorrow that the limitless longevity fruit would ripen in about half a month. This made Night Sorrow heave a sigh of relief. Apart from this half a month, Night Sorrow still had more than half a month to hurry on the road. This time was enough. Although there was still time, Night Sorrow was still worried. He was worried that Chen Bai and Heifeng would not be able to remain calm. If they wanted to harvest it in advance, Night Sorrow would have no choice but to act in advance. In fact, Heifeng was already unable to remain calm. Sixth senior brother, we don't have much time. We only have 1 month. Why don't we just harvest it? Chen Bai shook his head. Stay calm. I feel that it's almost time. We won't harvest it until the last moment. Hearing Chen Bai's words, Night Sorrow heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Chen Bai would decide to harvest it. If that happened, the loss would be huge, and it would be an unavoidable loss. Because once Chen Bai decided to harvest it, Night Sorrow would have no choice but to harvest the unripe limitless longevity fruit in advance. The team led by Tsang Weiyue and the other team led by a woman were also standing firm. Although they did not say anything, they were also looking forward to the appearance of variables. If more experts came, or if Chen Bai and Heifeng were in danger, they would have a chance to get a share of the profits. But in reality, they were disappointed. Because even if people came, if they were not scared off by Chen Bai's name, they would be killed by Heifeng. Heifeng and Chen Bai had completely different personalities. Heifeng would give you a chance, but if you did not leave, then you would be killed. 5 days later, Night Sorrow smiled. The aura on his body had also changed. His main body had awakened from seclusion, and his comprehension of the will of space had reached the entry level. He was now a half-step king like Chen Bai, Heifeng, and the others. You have comprehended? Zhu Jiuyun also felt the change in Night Sorrow. Yes, a half-step king. It won't be a problem for me to fight with them. Night Sorrow said. It's only been a few years, and you have actually entered the realm of a half-step king. Zhu Jiuyun was extremely shocked. A half-step king had already touched the threshold of the will of space. It was a completely different concept from a peak saint king who was completely clueless. Can you calm down and make a pot of tea to congratulate me? Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiuyun, but he was glad that his main body had awakened from seclusion and had comprehended. He did not have to worry about the following battles. Even if he used the will of space to fight, it would not affect his main body's comprehension. What will of space? Zhu Jiuyun asked while making tea. The cutting will of space. It is a relatively shallow will of space, but it is suitable for fighting. Night Sorrow did not hide anything from Zhu Jiuyun. The two of them were partners, so there was no need to hide anything. High-level will of space. It is definitely invincible among those of the same level. That's enough. You will have a higher chance of winning. It can be said that you are completely confident. Zhu Jiuyun said. There are no absolutes in this world. If they release their control of the King Kong King, who will be able to get the limitless longevity fruit? Night Sorrow said as he looked at the trapped King Kong King through the time pagoda. Hee. If they dare to release it, everyone will be in trouble. Zhu Jiuyun smiled. She also knew the situation outside. She knew that Chen Bai and Heifeng had suffered a great loss. In these few months, they had used up a few hundred Saint Spirit stones. Chapter 998. I've let them down. I've been a little petty. Let me think about it and see what's the best way to deal with this. Night Sorrow felt that if he didn't snatch it openly, it would be a little ungentlemanly. However, snatching it openly wouldn't go smoothly. After all, Chen Bai and He Feng, who were trapping the King Kong King, were in the lead. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow still couldn't come up with a solution. He could only wait for the limitless longevity fruit to ripen. At this time, the limitless longevity fruit also changed. Energy flowed on it, and the red ripples seemed to be alive. This was a sign that it was about to ripen. At this time, Chen Bai and He Feng also moved. Everyone, back off a bit. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. He Feng held his saber and turned around to look at everyone. This meant that if anyone moved recklessly, they would be seen as an enemy and would be attacked directly. Yu Wuhan, if you don't cause trouble, Chen Bai will owe you a favor. If you cause trouble, then you and I will die. Chen Bai turned to look at the female leader of the team. Sang Guiyue and the female leader of the other team, Yu Wuhan, both retreated a bit. One He Feng was nothing, but if he joined forces with Chen Bai, then no one could withstand it. If they angered Chen Bai and He Feng, then the 9 Peak Saint King servants would also make a move. It would also become a situation where one side would fight to the death. Sang Guiyue and Yu Wuhan both understood the situation. They also understood that if they made a promise to Chen Bai and He Feng, then the limitless longevity domain wouldn't let the matter rest. They couldn't withstand the revenge. In a situation where they were in the wrong, their family elders couldn't interfere. The consequences of interfering would cause even greater trouble. Chen Bai and He Feng looked at the limitless longevity fruit tree, while the other looked at Sang Guiyue and Yu Wuhan. Super many good novels. Night Sorrow also knew that the final moment was coming. His soul power enveloped the limitless longevity tree. Communicate with the treasure spirit of the pagoda of time and space. Don't block my energy. This way, I'll take it all the instant the limitless longevity fruit ripens. The 9 regions' origin energy appeared beside Night Sorrow. Normally speaking, if Night Sorrow were to suppress it, the 9 realms' origin energy clones would not be able to leave the 9 realms' origin bead. However, Night Sorrow had never deliberately done so. Night Sorrow called Shao Kong over and gave him some instructions. He then counted and found that there were 15 limitless longevity fruits on the limitless longevity tree. He took out 15 bottles and gave them to the 9 regions' origin energy clone. After that, he focused his energy on Chen Bai, He Feng, and the Diamond King. They were the variables that he needed to obtain the limitless longevity fruits and leave. At this moment, the Diamond King was extremely angry and irritable. It kept attacking the disc array that trapped it, but it still could not break free from the no-beginning disc array's control. It could not be blamed for being angry because the limitless longevity fruits were extremely important to it. It was a treasure that could increase one's cultivation and life level. However, the no-beginning disc array was firmly controlling it, so it was helpless. The Diamond King was unlucky to be controlled by the no-beginning disc array. It had lived for countless years, but due to the problem of its innate talent, it had always been at the level of a 3-star king. If it was a 4-star king or an intermediate king, the no-beginning disc array would not be able to suppress it. At this moment, time passed very slowly. The main reason was that everyone was very nervous and focused on the limitless longevity fruits. Night Sorrow also held the Space Splitter Spear in his hand because a battle could break out at any time. Chen Bai and He Feng were not to be trifled with. Sang Guiyue and Yu Wuhan would not sit idly by when the time came. Don't be nervous. You will handle it well. Have a cup of tea first. Zhu Jiuyun poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and said, I am not nervous. I am excited. I want to fight with them. If I get the limitless longevity fruits this time, I will owe Chen Bai and He Feng a favor. Showing up will also be an explanation to them. Night Sorrow took a sip of tea and said, You won't run after getting the limitless longevity fruits? You still want to fight? Zhu Jiuyun stared blankly at Night Sorrow. I want to fight. If I want to leave, they can't stop me. I have comprehended the will of space. In terms of speed, they are probably not as fast as me. Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's up to you. As long as you are confident. Zhu Jiuyun said. Night Sorrow drank a cup of tea and felt that it was not enough. He took out a jar of wine and drank while looking outside. After 2 days, the 9 regions origin body reminded Night Sorrow that the fruits were about to ripen. With the 9 regions origin body's reminder, Night Sorrow prepared for battle. Suddenly, the runes on the limitless longevity fruits on the limitless longevity tree froze and emitted a gentle light. The instant the runes stopped, Qianbai flew towards the limitless fruit tree. But at that moment, a swirl of energy appeared on the boundless fruit tree. Then, more than a dozen 10,000 longevity boundless fruits disappeared. This happened in an instant. Qianbai did not even have the time to react. Naturally, the one who collected the limitless longevity fruits was the 9 regions origin body. Night Sorrow closed the jade bottles and stored them into his storage ring. He then nodded at the 9 regions origin body. If he were to pick the limitless longevity fruits himself, he would not be able to do it so quickly. If he were to be a little slower during the critical moment, he might be intercepted and variables would appear. Who is it? Come out. Qianbai roared. He knew that someone had beaten him to it. With a flash, Night Sorrow appeared outside the space-time pagoda. At the same time, he kept the pagoda back into his body. Who are you? Qianbai asked Night Sorrow. I'm Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow said his name. If you didn't come out, we wouldn't have been able to find you. Why did you come out? After Qianbai's anger subsided, he thought of another problem. Because you guys used the arrayed disc to control the Diamond King. That's how I obtained the limitless longevity fruits. I feel that I have to give an explanation. Night Sorrow revealed his reason for coming out. Good. You're magnanimous enough. It's your ability that allowed you to obtain the limitless longevity fruits. However, since you've come out, we have to fight. If you win, you can leave. If you lose, you'll leave half of the limitless longevity fruits and you can leave too. Qianbai made his decision. No. Qianbai, I have nothing to say if the limitless longevity fruits are in your hands. However, it's not in his hands. He can't leave, Zhang Weiyue said. You piece of trash. If you were guarding the limitless longevity fruit tree, I would have left without a word. There's nothing to say to trash like you, let alone give an explanation. Qianbai, we'll talk about our matters later. Zhang Weiyue, come. We'll fight first. Last time, you ran. Let's see if you can run this time. Night Sorrow's body flashed and he charged towards Zhang Weiyue. Opponent. Night Sorrow respected him. However, Night Sorrow would kill low-quality trash. Zhang Weiyue brandished his sword and began fighting Night Sorrow. He felt that this was an opportunity. He could not do anything about the limitless longevity fruits in Qianbai's hands. However, he felt that he had a chance to get a share of the loot in Night Sorrow's hands. Yu Wuhan, you better not move. Hei Feng looked at Yu Wuhan and said. Chapter 999. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? This is a wonderful novel for you to read. Quick update. The website is clean and has few advertisements. I love this kind of website. You must give it a good review. So what if you're easy to bully? He came out like a man. As a disciple of Boundless Mountain, we naturally have to give him an explanation. Before we solve the problem between us, if you dare to attack, I won't be polite. Before Black Wind could speak, Qianbai directly expressed his attitude. Yu Wuhan narrowed his eyes and looked at Qianbai, thinking. Then, he waved his hand to his people. Let's just watch and see what Boundless Mountain is like. At this time, Night Sorrow was suppressing Zhang Weiyue in battle. His original body had comprehended some will of Space Slicer, so he had no problem suppressing Zhang Weiyue in speed. In addition, during the attack, the space-splitting spear could quickly pass through space and was sharper than before. Zhang Weiyue could not withstand it, even if he had comprehended the sword will in the wind. Feeling that he could not defeat Night Sorrow, Zhang Weiyue shouted for the holy kings behind him to attack Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow did not speak. He controlled the 8-dragon cauldron to protect himself. Then, he used his soul power to control the spacetime pagoda to smash at the holy kings surrounding him. Under Night Sorrow's control, the spacetime pagoda was extremely powerful. Even the holy kings could not withstand it. Those who were fast enough could dodge it, but those who were slow would die if they were hit. At this moment, Yi Shang was engaged in a massacre. The troops that Zhang Weiyue had brought were not enough for him to kill. A moment later, 2 peak saint kings were killed, and Zhang Weiyue was stabbed in the chest by Yi Shang. "Cotton candy, kid, I'll remember you." Zhang Weiyue roared and then fled. At this time, his speed was extremely fast. He was burning his essence blood because he would be killed by Night Sorrow if he did not leave. Night Sorrow did not chase after him because the matter here was not settled. If he left now, it would be the same as running away without giving Chen Bai and Black Wind an explanation. After turning around, Night Sorrow looked at Chen Bai and Black Wind. "Good. Although you stole the limitless longevity fruit, I have to say that you killed well. You killed well. You've recovered. I'll wait for you," Chen Bai said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and sat down to recover. Besides, no one could plot against him. An hour later, Night Sorrow stood up. "I took advantage of you, so I'll give you an explanation. If you don't regret it after this battle, then I'll have a clear conscience." "All right." Chen Bai waved the long sword in his hand and nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow was a strong opponent. Zhang Weiyue was a half-step king, but he had been forced to run away. Besides, he also knew that if Night Sorrow wanted to leave, neither he nor Heifeng could stop him. With Night Sorrow's speed, they could do nothing about it. As soon as the battle began, Chen Bai activated his Earth attribute spatial defense and Lightning attribute will to support his longsword attacks. Night Sorrow used the power of Desolates to protect his body, the Void Law to suppress his opponent, and the Void Chi to attack. At the same time, he used the spatial will to support his speed. Not only did it increase his movement speed, but it also increased his attack speed. With the support of the spatial cut will, Night Sorrow moved even faster. Chen Bai could not keep up with Night Sorrow's rhythm. Chen Bai's attacks were ferocious, but in the face of Night Sorrow's void extreme kill, he was helpless. Every time they clashed, he was at a disadvantage. Although he was at a disadvantage, Chen Bai could still fight. He was not like Zhang Weiyue, who could not fight back at all. Their bodies flashed, and within a radius of 12 miles, they continued to fight. Seeing that he could not suppress Chen Bai without the support of the spatial will, Night Sorrow used his Space Splitter Spear and used his Bloodline innate spatial ability. He used the spatial attribute energy to support his spear art. After changing his attack style, Night Sorrow's attack speed and strength suddenly increased. The Space Splitter Spear directly knocked away Chen Bai's longsword and cut a hole in Chen Bai's chest. The spatial energy directly penetrated Chen Bai's chest. After injuring Chen Bai, Night Sorrow did not continue to attack. "I lost." After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Chen Bai said, "I'm sorry. Everyone needs opportunities." After Night Sorrow replied to Chen Bai, he looked at Yu Wuhan. He wanted to see if Yu Wuhan would let him go. "You can go. You didn't slip away. This is an explanation to us brothers. We will naturally give you an explanation." Chen Bai looked at Yu Wuhan. His words were for Yu Wuhan. "Night Sorrow, if you leave now, we won't stop you. Can you tell us where to find you?" Heifeng said. He. "I didn't leave immediately because I thought highly of you. You have the strength of a cultivator. Now, I'm disappointed." After hearing Heifeng's words, Night Sorrow was indeed a little disappointed. "You're mistaken. We can afford to lose. We're not looking for you because of today's incident. We have something to ask of you. Even if you have to pay the price, it's fine." After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Heifeng hurriedly explained. "My name is Night Sorrow. I'm a disciple of the Tianding Gate in the profound sky world. After hearing Heifeng's explanation, Night Sorrow knew that he had misunderstood. We'll look for you later. Heifeng nodded. Then I won't waste any more time. The 1-year deadline is approaching. Leaving early is the most important thing. Night Sorrow glanced at Yu Wuhan. His body drew an arc as he instantly left the battlefield. At this speed, if he leaves directly, we can only watch. Chen Bai said as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Yu Wuhan glanced at Chen Bai and Heifeng and left. After waiting for a few months, this was the result. She was very unwilling, but she had no choice. Night Sorrow's strength was too terrifying. If Chen Bai wasn't a match for him, she wouldn't be able to. After Night Sorrow flew a distance away, he brought Zhu Jiuyan out of the space-time pagoda. You did well. What's so great about them? They were still trampled to death. Zhu Jiuyan was very excited. Night Sorrow's battle this time was really beautiful. He snatched the limitless longevity fruit alone and even beat the other party to a pulp. This time, we've completed our mission perfectly. Now, we don't have time to continue searching for materials to leave. We can only leave quickly. Night Sorrow said. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Zhu Jiuyan was in a good mood. Thereafter, Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyan took turns to travel. When Night Sorrow's cultivation was more than half depleted, he let Zhu Jiuyan carry the space-time pagoda. When he was exhausted, he would switch with Night Sorrow. In less than 7 days, Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyan arrived near the spatial barrier. Night Sorrow called for Zhu Jiuyan to enter the space-time pagoda to recover. Aren't we going out directly? Zhu Jiuyan asked. Don't you think there will be danger inside and outside the spatial barrier? Won't others ambush us? Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiuyan. Now that you mention it, it's possible. Zhu Jiuyan nodded embarrassedly. She knew that she was too excited and neglected some issues. Night Sorrow had offended many people in the mysterious sky world. It was normal for the Sky South Empire to keep an eye on Night Sorrow. After recovering, Night Sorrow kept Zhu Jiuyan's doppelganger into the space-time pagoda and flew towards the spatial barrier. Chapter 1000. C_T, Genius 1 second Remember love/go/little? We provide you with interesting novels to read. Formation. As a formation master, Night Sorrow naturally knew what was going on. Someone had set up a formation. I don't have time to play with you guys. Night Sorrow muttered. He tore open the space and entered the spatial turbulence, flying towards the space barrier. No matter who set up the formation, they could not set it up in the spatial turbulence. When he reached the space barrier, Night Sorrow tore it open and began to travel towards the mysterious heaven world. Mysterious heaven world. Elder Xiang, who was standing in front of the space barrier, was anxious. There were only a few days left until the 1-year deadline. By then, the No territory would shift and leave the area between the mysterious heaven world and the firmament world. If Night Sorrow did not return before then, he would not be able to come out for 90,000 years. At this moment, a crack appeared in the space. Night Sorrow's body flashed and he appeared in front of Elder Xiang. Good, it's good that you're back. Let's go. Elder Xiang turned to look at the others. He wrapped Night Sorrow in energy and left the space barrier. So many people are in front of the space barrier? Night Sorrow turned to look at the space barrier and asked. Yes, there are still people who have not come out. How's your harvest? Elder Xiang asked. To Elder Xiang, the most important thing was that Night Sorrow had come out alive. Night Sorrow himself was his greatest treasure. Very good, I've gained a lot. Night Sorrow answered. When they reached the nearest city, Elder Xiang took Night Sorrow back to the Tianding Gate through the teleportation formation. Advertisement. When they reached the Tianding Gate, Elder Xiang and Night Sorrow separated. He felt at ease, but at the same time, he was not calm. This was because he noticed that Night Sorrow's cultivation had changed. He was no longer a peak Saint King, but a half-king realm. It was also very difficult to enter the king realm from the half-step king realm. After all, it was only touching the will of heaven and earth, which was different from comprehending it. But who knew how many people had stumped just this one step of coming into contact with the will of heaven and earth? It was just like the Tianding Gate. In the past, there had been a large number of peak stage Saint Kings, but because they had not been able to come into contact with the will of heaven and earth, they had reached the end of their lifespans and would die. The current batch of newcomers had not yet grown up. Even the presently very outstanding Yen Huifeng had cultivated for 20,000 years, and still had not come into contact with the will of heaven and earth. J% the reason why he was still alive despite reaching the end of his lifespan was because of Yen Huifeng's talent. Top-grade forces all had some peak stage Saint Kings, while the Tianding Gate had very few. This was because many forces would pay a high price to recruit peak stage Saint Kings, while the Tianding Gate only nurtured them themselves, and did not recruit them. Thus, there was a difference in this level. Yi Shang returned to the little house in the bamboo forest. This made his anxious relatives and friends very happy. It's good that you're back safely. Mother will cook some delicious food for you later. Yu Qing looked at her son and said, Thank you, Mother. A place with family was home. Night Sorrow really enjoyed the feeling of having his parents by his side. Did this trip go smoothly? Sikong Chuyu asked. Yes, everything went smoothly. Night Sorrow nodded. Yi Wuyo sized up Night Sorrow. Seeing that his son was safe and sound, he said, it's good that it went smoothly. Now, just stay here and accompany Chuyu and the others. If not, I will also take a break. Don't keep cultivating bitterly. Night Sorrow nodded, and then let Zhu Jiuyan out. You guys don't know, but Night Sorrow was really awe-inspiring this time. Now, everyone in the Sky Dome realm knows the name Night Sorrow, Zhu Jiuyan said. She was even more excited than Night Sorrow, especially after taking care of Tsang Weiyue. This made her feel very relieved. Then, she also explained what happened this time. We did obtain the 10,000 limitless longevity fruit, but I don't want its existence to discourage everyone from working hard to cultivate. The 10,000 limitless longevity fruit can only be used when there is no other choice. Night Sorrow looked at the people around him and said. He didn't want the people around him to slack off. After all, one's cultivation and realm were the most important things. Everyone understands what you mean. Aoi poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and said. Also, I will concoct some pills to repair the soul. Then, I will go and buy some void Dao stones. If any of you want to cultivate a soul clone, go ahead. Xueshi, your soul clone movement technique has no restrictions. If you can teach it, teach it. After all, low-level soul clones don't have much meaning. Night Sorrow looked at Xueshi and said. My soul clone movement technique can only be cultivated by cultivators with the wind and water attribute. Other attributes won't work. Xueshi nodded. She also hoped to help Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow cared about the people around him the most. If she could help the people around Night Sorrow, it would be equivalent to helping Night Sorrow solve his problems. Then cultivate our nether race's flawless soul clone. However, I don't know if it will succeed. After all, there is no such precedent. Zhu Jiuyan thought for a moment and said. Will it affect you? The last time I cultivated Aunt Fei's soul clone movement technique, it caused quite a bit of damage to her. Night Sorrow looked at Wu Lingfei with gratitude in his eyes. The scene of Wu Lingfei being punished by the heavenly Tao was still in his heart. Wu Lingfei smiled and nodded at Night Sorrow. In her eyes, the current Night Sorrow was no different from the Night Sorrow of the past. That won't happen. What Elder Wu has is a bloodline inheritance. What I have is a scripture inheritance. There is still a difference. Zhu Jiuyan shook his head. After resting with his parents and wife for 2 days, Night Sorrow entered the Time and Space Treasure Pagoda. His main purpose was to refine pills. Some medicinal herbs would lose their effectiveness if left out for too long. Aoi and Zhu Jiuyan both accompanied Night Sorrow. Aoi liked to refine pills. Zhu Jiuyan was a clone and did not need to cultivate. Night Sorrow was now a high-level Sacred King alchemist. Refining spirit-replenishing pills and longevity limitless pills was not a problem. While Night Sorrow was refining pills, a few people were sitting in the endless hall of Endless Mountain. Master, Junior Brother Black Wind and I have lost. Chen Bai bowed to the white-robed old man who was sitting on the main seat and whose body was somewhat illusory. You are injured? What's going on? Could it be that a sovereign king attacked you? The old man sitting in the main seat asked. No, it was a young man. It was an open battle. Disciple was not his match. Chen Bai bowed and said. Young man? Half-step king? The white-robed elder asked. Yes. He is very young, about 100 years old. He seems to be using pure spatial will. Not only is his movement speed fast, but his attack speed is also fast. There is one thing that Disciple is not sure about. He seems to have several rules. Disciple has embarrassed Master. Please punish me. Chen Bai bowed and said. A loss is a loss. One has to face some things in life. However, your third senior sister's lifespan is up. Without the longevity limitless fruit, she can only resign herself to fate. The white-robed elder sighed. There is still a chance. We asked for his name and sect. Disciple plans to make a trip later. No matter what the price, Disciple will save third senior sister. Chen Bai said. All right, then go with your eldest senior brother. Master also needs to go into seclusion. After saying that, the white-robed elder disappeared. Chapter 1001. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love go/little? This is a wonderful novel for you to read. Read the full article. First senior brother, junior brother understands. I have no complaints. This time, I am going with first senior brother to ask for help. I have no other intentions, Chen Bai said to the middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was very famous. He was the 7 Kills King, Luo Qisha. In the Sky Dome Realm's king's realm, he had a strong deterrent force. What he comprehended was the same killing intent as Ren Tianji. However, Ren Tianji only comprehended the surface. In that case, we will go over now. It will be hard on the two of you. Luo Qisha nodded to Chen Bai and Hei Feng. He also felt sorry for his 2 junior brothers. The Boundless Mountains disciples were as close as brothers. Chen Bai and Hei Feng risked their lives to go to the Boundless Domain to extend their senior sister's lifespan. The cost of using the realm teleportation formation was very high. However, it was nothing to the king. Luo Qisha brought Chen Bai and Hei Feng to the Profound Heaven realm and then directly teleported to the Tianding Gate. When Luo Qisha and the other 2 arrived at the Tianding Gate, Old Xiang appeared. The king's realm was very sensitive. Naturally, Old Xiang sensed Luo Qisha's arrival. I am Luo Qisha. Greetings, Tianding King. Luo Qisha cupped his hands at Old Xiang. Sky Dome Realm's Boundless Mountains first disciple, 7 Kills King. Welcome, 7 Kills King, to my Tianding Gate. Please excuse me for not going out to meet you. Old Xiang cupped his hands in return. No matter why Luo Qisha came, Old Xiang had to receive him politely. To read a book, please go to www.myanhuating. CC, Tianding King is too polite. I am here to meet your Tianding Gate's Night Sorrow. Luo Qisha explained his purpose for coming. Night Sorrow was able to obtain treasures in the Boundless Domain. That is his fortuitous encounter. Is Boundless Mountain trying to drag the matter of the Boundless Domain outside to settle? Although the Tianding Gate is nothing in front of a giant like the Boundless Mountain, it won't allow itself to be trampled on. Elder Xiang's aura changed. Tianding King, there must be a misunderstanding. The Boundless Mountain never bullies the weak. This is the teachings of our master. We just want to see Night Sorrow and discuss some things. We don't want anything from him. Luo Qixia cupped his hands toward Elder Xiang again. So that's the case. Then yours truly has misunderstood. Let's go to Danding Peak then. After hearing Luo Qixia's words, Elder Xiang knew that he had been overthinking things. King Realm cultivators had some persistence. They wouldn't say one thing and do another. Elder Xiang arrived at Danding Peak and was received by Wu Lingfei. Following which, Sikong Chuyu went to the Spacetime Pagoda to call for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who had just finished refining a cauldron of longevity limitless pills, left the Spacetime Pagoda. At this time, Wu Lingfei had also brought Elder Xiang, Luo Qixia, Chen Bai, and Heifeng to the bamboo grove. Greetings, Elder Xiang. Greetings, Lord King. Night Sorrow cupped his hands toward Elder Xiang and Luo Qixia. He couldn't see Luo Qixia's cultivation level. Naturally, he knew that Luo Qixia was the king. Half-step king. A very young half-step king. Very good. After looking at Night Sorrow, Luo Qixia nodded. Naturally, he could see Night Sorrow's bone age. Everyone, take a seat. Night Sorrow gestured for everyone to sit down. Then, he started to make tea. RD Forever $read novels for free. After Night Sorrow finished making tea and sat down, Chen Bai stood up and cupped his hands toward Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, I'm here to ask you for a favor. Brother Chen Bai is too polite. There's no harm in speaking your mind. Night Sorrow looked at Chen Bai and had a rough idea of what was going on. My third senior sister's lifespan is almost up, but she hasn't entered the king realm yet. Therefore, I'm here to ask for a longevity limitless fruit. If you have any requests, I, Chen Bai, will do it. If I can't, I'll do it, Chen Bai said to Night Sorrow. His words expressed his determination. Me too. As long as you can get a limitless fruit, we'll do whatever you want. Heifeng stood up as well. Brother Chen Bai, Brother Heifeng, you're exaggerating. Truth be told, I feel bad for snatching away your opportunity. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shown myself back then. I would have just left. There are 3 longevity limitless pills in this bottle. Each of them has the same effect as the longevity limitless fruit. Take them. Night Sorrow took out a jade bottle and placed it on the table. Thank you, Brother Yi, for your generosity. However, it's not appropriate to take them directly. Back then, you chose to show yourself and fight. This is equivalent to giving an explanation to both you and us. We'll use resources to exchange for these pills, Chen Bai said as he looked at the pill bottle. Truth be told, after hearing your words, I'm very touched. I have 10 senior brothers and 2 senior sisters. In their eyes, I'm like a family member. If something happens to them, I'll feel the same way as you. So, I don't want it. Don't refuse, Night Sorrow said with a smile. 6th brother, take it. Remember that my boundless mountain owes Night Sorrow a favor, Luo Qixia said as he looked at Chen Bai. All right. We'll take the pills. Also, I'm convinced of my defeat in the previous battle. However, I won't admit defeat just like that. When I've improved, I'll come and find you again. Chen Bai cupped his hands towards Night Sorrow and accepted the longevity limitless pill. Anytime. Night Sorrow smiled and cupped his hands. Then you youngsters can continue chatting. 7 kills king, shall we take a walk around the Tianding gate? Elder Xiang asked as he looked at Luo Qixia. Alright, then we'll have to trouble Tianding king. Luo Qixia stood up and nodded. Night Sorrow, when did you get to the longevity limitless tree in the boundless region? I remember that our defenses were very tight. Heifeng asked as he watched 7 kills king and Elder Xiang leave. When I got there, you guys had already trapped King Kong King. However, the others hadn't arrived yet. You guys were the first wave. I hid there for nearly half a year. It was a very nervous half a year. Night Sorrow explained the situation to Heifeng with a smile. We couldn't snatch the fruits from you, and we couldn't stop you from running away. What were you nervous about? Chen Bai asked, puzzled. I was afraid that you guys wouldn't be able to hold back and directly went to pick the unripe longevity limitless fruit. Then, I could only snatch the unripe ones. Wouldn't that be a loss? Fortunately, Brother Chen Bai was more stable. Chen Bai and Hei Feng were more casual. Night Sorrow smiled and shared his feelings. After staying for a while, Chen Bai and Hei Feng were about to leave. At the same time, they invited Night Sorrow to visit Boundless Mountain when he had time. However, they told Night Sorrow to be careful of Tsang Wuyue. Tsang Wuyue was a genuine villain. In addition, there were a few other half-step kings in the Ashen Cloud sect. The strongest among them was called Tsang Wushang. He had the same nature as Tsang Wuyue. I'll be careful. As for the other two, when you come to the Heaven Profound world in the future, come visit me. I'll entertain you with good wine and good meat. This time, you guys were anxious, so I won't keep you. Night Sorrow said. All right. Also, let me tell you. The Sky Dome realm is much bigger than the Heaven Profound world. It's also a good place to comprehend the will of heaven and earth. When you come to the Sky Dome realm, you must go to Boundless Mountain. If you say that you're Night Sorrow, no one will stop you. However, don't barge into the Ashen Cloud sect's territory. Chen Bai invited Night Sorrow. Chapter 1002. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? Shaw.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. There are almost all the books you want to read. It's much more stable than the average website. It's also updated faster. It's all text with no advertisements. After sending Chen Bai and Hei Feng away, Night Sorrow chatted with his family. This is a good ending. They all have persistence in their hearts. To put it bluntly, they follow the path of a gentleman. It's not scary to offend such people. The most important thing is not to offend them. Yi Wuyo said. Yi Shang nodded his head and asked who was cultivating the soul clone. Then, he gave them the spirit replenishing pill and went to the Big Dipper city to sell some medicine. In exchange for some materials, he also bought a few void Dao stones at a high price. As for the Restore Spirit pill and Longevity Limitless pill, unless it was a last resort, Night Sorrow would not sell them. This was because the more he used, the less he would have. Who knew if he would need them in the future? When Night Sorrow returned to the small bamboo house, Elder Xiang was talking to Wu Lingfei and the others. Elder Xiang is here. Night Sorrow greeted. Yes, I just sent away that 7 kills king. That guy is a very strong character. The Endless Mountain's Endless Monarch doesn't usually move and doesn't mind some things. However, this guy is very murderous. Whoever provokes the Endless Mountain will be killed by him. He's also very strong. Elder Xiang said. However, I feel that they are reasonable. Night Sorrow felt that Elder Xiang was not completely right. He felt that Luo Qisha and the others were not the kind of people who would bully others. Logic can be used, but it also depends on the person. If they approve of it, then there is no problem. If they don't approve of it and don't like it, then there is no reason to talk about it, Elder Xiang said. He knew about the Boundless Mountain. Perhaps in the profound sky world, those who were not strong enough did not know the words Endless Mountain, but all King Realm cultivators knew. The Endless Mountain was reasonable, but it also depended on the person. If they faced someone who was not worthy of respect, then there was no reason to talk. They would directly kill without any worries. Then Night Sorrow talked about how he had offended the Grey Cloud sex people, Tsangyanue. Sigh, this is a bit troublesome. The Tsangyan monarch and the Boundless monarch are two completely different people. The Boundless monarch cares about his own cultivation and has no interest in power and influence. However, the Tsangyan monarch is different. You have to be careful when you go out. Old Xiang said. He knew that the Tsangyan sect and the Boundless Mountain were two completely different forces. Looks like I've caused trouble for the Tianding Gate again, Night Sorrow said apologetically. It's nothing. The Tsangyan monarch wouldn't go so far as to come to the Tianding gate for this matter. Even if others came, it would be useless. The main thing is that you have to be careful when you go out, Elder Xiang said. Night Sorrow nodded. There was nothing he could do about offending the villain. He then thought of another question. Oh right, does Elder Xiang know about the Demon Moon world? I know. That's a middle-sized world. It's a very difficult world to deal with. The leaders of the Demon Moon world are the moon-worshipping race. They are all rather extreme. You didn't offend them again, did you? Elder Xiang looked at Night Sorrow in astonishment. No, I met them at that time. However, she didn't have the chance to intervene. There's no grudge between us. Night Sorrow told Elder Xiang about the situation at that time. This is karma. However, it doesn't matter. They might have designs on the limitless longevity fruit on you. However, they can't act recklessly. Our Tianding gate is not a place that anyone can bully. The Heaven Profound world will not allow people from other worlds to act recklessly in the Heaven Profound world. Elder Xiang said. Elder Xiang's current feelings were very deep. Because of Night Sorrow's arrival, his days were filled with fear and trepidation. However, he knew that this was the process of some people rising up. It was something that they had to go through. After Elder Xiang left, Night Sorrow accompanied his family to chat and drink tea. Sixth Senior Sister, is it not suitable for me to join any forces? I'm too good at causing trouble. However, you have always been in the wrong. Therefore, you don't have to think too much about it. When you enter the king's realm, some things can be avoided. Aoi said. There were still people who could bully peak stage Saint Kings. However, if it was not necessary, no one would be willing to offend the king's realm. The king's realm had an unlimited lifespan. If they met a ruthless person, they would find a place to cultivate. When they had great achievements, they would come out for revenge. Night Sorrow nodded. He also felt that he should settle down for the time being. No matter what, he had to first perfect the will of space and officially enter the king's realm. As long as he comprehended the will, he would not have to constantly stay in places where the will of heaven manifested. He could advance according to the will that he had already grasped and slowly perfect it. While his main body was cultivating, Night Sorrow's clone went to the Tian Nan Empire and walked around. He wanted to see if there were any movements in the Tian Nan Empire. However, he could not casually touch the Tian Nan Empire at this time. The main reason was because of the existence of the Tianding Gate. If Night Sorrow continued to massacre the city, the Tian Nan Empire would vent their anger on the Tianding Gate. Night Sorrow was a man of principle. He did not want to implicate the Tianding Gate because of him. After walking around the Tian Nan Empire, Night Sorrow realized that there was nothing going on. He walked around the Tian Xian world and increased his knowledge. These days were very relaxing. In the Endless Mountain's Endless Palace, Luo Qisha was talking to a few people. Old 6, little 8, because of Senior Sister, you owe him a favor. Senior Sister is really apologetic. A woman sitting beside Luo Qisha said. 7 to 9 permanent a pardon, third Senior Sister, you think too much. Night Sorrow is not the kind of person who wants to be repaid. He was originally giving it to us. Hei Feng said with a smile. Little 8. He is being polite. We can't take it seriously. That will damage our Endless Mountain's reputation. The woman called third Senior Sister by Hei Feng said. She was the Endless Sovereign's third disciple, Qing Yin. Because her soul was severely injured in a battle, her talent was damaged. 10,000 years had passed and she had not entered the king realm. Because her lifespan was reaching its limit, the disciples of Endless Mountain were very anxious. Qing Yin, don't think too much. You can't slack off just because you have the longevity limitless elixir. You should enter the king realm as soon as possible. Luo Qisha looked at Qing Yin and said. Eldest senior brother, don't worry. Qing Yin will work hard. Qing Yin nodded. When I saw this young man called Night Sorrow, I was very excited. He is living a passionate life. Qing Yin, did you know? He is a little over 100 years old, but he is now a half-step king realm. Old Six was defeated by him. Luo Qisha said. Old Six, were you careless? How did you lose to a young man? Qing Yin said with a smile. Third senior sister, don't laugh. I really wasn't careless. I really couldn't beat him. I think even if little 8 and I attacked together, it would be useless. Third senior sister, you didn't see that Song Weiyue from the Grey Cloud sect was also a half-step king realm. He was beaten up like a dog and didn't even have the strength to fight back. Chen Bai said. Qing Yin, Old Six is not joking. I didn't believe it when I didn't see it. Now that I see it, I believe it. Some things don't need to be said. Luo Qisha said to Qing Yin seriously. Chapter 1003. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/little? I'll provide you with interesting novels to read. Sixth brother, you might be right about one thing. You and eighth brother are no match for him. When I saw him, I tried to find out more about him, but I failed, said Luo Qisha. Brother, why did you fail? Asked Qing Yin. She didn't understand. She knew how strong her brother was. Luo Qisha smiled and explained the situation. While he was investigating, his soul power had reached Yi Shang's side. First, it had been dissolved. Then, the remaining soul power had reached Yi Shang's side and dissipated at an accelerated rate. Brother, what's going on? Chen Bai's eyes were wide open. He didn't understand. Last time, didn't you say that he might have many rules in his body? He could melt my soul power. I don't know what kind of rule it is, but it's very overbearing. If he has the support of will, then my soul power with the power of will is nothing in front of the energy rule. This is the first kind. In addition, there is also an energy rule that can change the flow of time in his body, which is the time rule, Luo Qisha said. But when he fought with sixth brother, he showed the energy of space and the embryonic form of space intent. Is he good at many things? Asked He Feng. He was surprised. There are all kinds of geniuses in the world. Never underestimate others. What I admire the most is that he values relationships. When he said that he felt the same way, it means that he cares a lot about the relationships between fellow disciples. Sixth brother, eighth brother, if he participates in the competition for the first saint of the 100 worlds, he'll definitely be the strongest saint. Read the whole story, said Luo Qisha. We want to compete for the first saint of the 100 worlds, but we're not very sure. Brother, do you think he has a chance? Everyone below the king level can participate. Many half-kings will go, said Chen Bai. It's just a feeling. Teacher will go to the 9 heavens world in 3 years. You should ask him when he comes, said Luo Qisha. At this time, Yi Shang was traveling around the Profound Heaven world. On this day, he came to Profound Heaven City. After walking around, he went to a tea house to drink tea. Suddenly, he saw a familiar person enter the tea house. It was Qian Yu. Qian Yu of the Xiantian dynasty had been defeated by Chen Bai. You're wanted by the Tiannan dynasty, yet you're still able to run around. I have to say that you have some guts. Qian Yu sat across from Night Sorrow. That's nothing. They can't do anything to me. The last time I saw you, you weren't a half-step king, so you weren't a match for Chen Bai. Now that you're a half-step king, you should be able to fight Chen Bai, Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of tea. Looks like you know quite a bit. You should have been there at the time, but I didn't notice. Entering the half-step king is nothing. Although he won't be defeated so quickly, it's still not enough to defeat Chen Bai, Qian Yu said. At the same time, he also knew that Night Sorrow was also someone who had entered the No Weave. You being able to fight proves that there are people from the Heaven Profound world who are willing to give it their all, Night Sorrow said. Seeing that Night Sorrow was also a half-step king, Qianyu suddenly changed the topic and asked for a fight. How about a fight? Okay. Knight Sorrow nodded. Seeing Knight Sorrow nod, Qianyu waved his hand and attacked. Look at Chapter 9, Chapter H, Part 1 Inch. This is a tea house. Knight Sorrow glared at Qianyu. His body flashed and he landed on the street outside the tea house. Qianyu also rushed out of the tea house and continued to attack Knight Sorrow with his sword. Knight Sorrow's body flashed twice and waved the Space Splitter Spear, blocking Qianyu's attack. Qianyu had comprehended the Thunder Sword intent, which was a Thunder Sword intent. His attacks were violent and ferocious, but Knight Sorrow had used the Will of Space to support his spatial energy. His movement and attack speed had increased, so his defense was more than enough. Knight Sorrow didn't counterattack, he just passively defended. He wanted to see the mysteries of the mysterious Heaven Sword art. At this moment, a group of Imperial guards arrived and surrounded Qianyu and Knight Sorrow. This prince is Qianyu, scram! Qianyu roared and continued to attack Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear attacked, and every time he attacked, it would hit the point where Qianyu's sword was swinging. This meant that Qianyu's attacks would be interrupted by Knight Sorrow, so he couldn't use his power. This made Qianyu very sullen, but no matter how hard he tried, it was useless. He could not change the situation. After a moment, he stopped attacking. He waved his hand and attacked a stone statue on the side of the road, venting his anger. You're good, you're ruthless enough. You're much stronger than Bai. No, you're stronger than Bai. You should have gained something last time. Let's continue drinking tea. He entered the tea house and sat down again. Looking at Knight Sorrow outside the tea house, Qianyu thought of something and called Knight Sorrow into the tea house to drink tea. This isn't appropriate, is it? You drank the tea I bought and then wanted to fight me. Now, without saying anything, you're asking me this and that? Knight Sorrow looked at Qianyu and said, I'll treat you to tea today. When the restaurant opens, we'll drink again. Come in quickly. Being called by Knight Sorrow, Qianyu was stunned for a moment because he hadn't been so rude to him. However, he felt that Knight Sorrow was right. He didn't have the right to order Knight Sorrow, so he changed his words and invited Knight Sorrow to drink tea. Knight Sorrow sat across from Qianyu and looked at the Imperial guards outside. He understood that Qianyu's status in the mysterious Heaven dynasty was very high. Noticing Knight Sorrow's gaze, Qianyu roared at the Imperial guards, Go do what you need to do. What are you looking at me for? The Imperial guards bowed to Qianyu and left. I was indeed a little reckless today. Don't take offense. Most men aren't like this. Qianyu poured a cup of tea for Knight Sorrow with the teapot. You're indeed not pretentious. Knight Sorrow took a sip from the teacup. Tell me quickly. What was the situation last time? Don't worry. Qianyu, won't have any ideas about what benefits you got. Qianyu urged Knight Sorrow somewhat anxiously. I admit that I got some benefits. Knight Sorrow hesitated for a moment before saying. Beautiful. Our mysterious Heaven world has always been suppressed by the Sky Dome world. All the good things are theirs. I'm not satisfied. You've done well this time. Qianyu slammed the table and said. I'm not from the mysterious Heaven world. Knight Sorrow corrected him. Bullshit. I know that you're from the 9 regions world. I also know that you have a grudge with the Sky South dynasty. But in fact, the few worlds around the mysterious Heaven world are all subsidiary worlds of the mysterious Heaven world. They can all be considered as people of the mysterious Heaven world. Qianyu looked at Knight Sorrow and cursed. Perhaps. It's just that the mysterious Heaven world has hurt the 9 regions world too deeply in the past. I still have some resistance to the mysterious Heaven world. Knight Sorrow expressed his feelings. After all, what Qianyu said was the truth. I can understand. The Sky South dynasty and the Yanmen Mountain sect like to do some immoral things. Oh right, in 3 years, come with me. Let's go to the 9 Clouds world to play. Qian Yu said. I'm not going. You have a backer. If I get chopped up for running around, it'll be for nothing. Knight Sorrow shook his head and refused. Chapter 1004. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? Show.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Almost all the books you want to read are here. It's much more stable than the average website and updates faster. It's all text with no advertisements. What are the benefits? If the benefits are big enough, I'll consider it, Knight Sorrow said. You're really unscrupulous. Let me tell you, in 3 years, it should be more than 2 years, it's the first saint ceremony of the 100 realms. It's to choose the strongest saint king from the 100 realms around the 9 heavens world. If you get a ranking, the benefits will be great. My great ancestors said that if the members of the Tianxian world get the top few, there will be great rewards. There's no problem with cultivation resources. In addition, the 9 heavens world will open the will of heaven and earth cave to the top few, allowing the strongest saint king to strengthen his will comprehension, Qian Yu said. Fair? Fair? If it's not fair, I won't go, Knight Sorrow said. You're being petty. These are all petty thoughts. Do you know who's in charge of this conference? It's the monarchs of a few realms. My great ancestor will be there. Who do you think can come? Qian Yu looked at Knight Sorrow and rolled his eyes. That's not bad. Interesting. Knight Sorrow understood that there should be no problem with fairness. I've been talking to you for a long time, and you're just a little interesting. I'm speechless. How can the 9 regions world produce an anomaly like you? I don't care. I'll look for you when the time comes. Oh right, where can I find you? Qian Yu only knew the reason why the Tiannan dynasty wanted Knight Sorrow, but he didn't know the specific situation of Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow reported his home, then waved at Qian Yu and left the tea house. He took the teleportation formation and went to another city for a stroll. Knight Sorrow's attitude made Qian Yu so angry that he slammed the table. He felt that Knight Sorrow was too despicable. He talked for a long time, but Knight Sorrow didn't give him a definite answer. When Qian Yu slammed the table, 2 women entered the tea house. A woman in a pink dress looked at Qian Yu. You, what made you slap the table? Tell second sister. Second sister will vent your anger for you. Is it because of Chen Bai? It's not Chen Bai. It's another bastard. I'm so angry, Qian Yu said after taking a big sip of tea. If you don't cause trouble, we'll look for whoever bullies you. She was the first princess of the Xintian Empire, Qian Ziwei. She wore a golden dress and a phoenix hairpin. Her face was cold and her eyes were cold and arrogant. Big sister, don't add to the chaos. I was attacked by someone just now. I fought with him, but he didn't even attack. My attacks were all ineffective. Then, he gave me a beating. Qian Yu said gloomily. Then why don't you tell second sister what happened? Whoever gives you a hard time, will take care of him, said the woman in a pink dress. She was Qian Yu's second sister, Qian Xiangwei. I'm not taking care of him. I'm not looking for trouble with him. I'm just angry at his attitude. I can't describe how I feel. I don't want to take care of him. That's not right. I want to beat him up, but I can't. Qian Yu couldn't describe his feelings. Then, Qian Yu explained his encounter with Yi Shang, as well as some of Yi Shang's experiences in the No Weave. Then, Qian Ziwei expressed her opinion. She knew that Knight Sorrow was a wanted man in the Tiannan Empire. She was from the Xintian Empire and naturally knew some things. Qian Ziwei felt that Qian Yu had a noble status, but this status was invalid in the eyes of some people. At least, it was invalid in Knight Sorrow's eyes. Knight Sorrow dared to take care of Shang Jingchen, so he wasn't afraid of Qian Yu. However, Qian Ziwei felt that Knight Sorrow was a good friend. That's right. Think about it. Back then, Chen Bai and He Feng used the no beginning disc array to suppress King Kong King, but Night Sorrow still snatched the limitless longevity fruit. It's right for people with ability to have character, said Qian Xiangwei. That's right. The Tianding Gate is a large alchemy sect. Big Sister wants to ask someone to refine the spirit comprehension pill. We have the materials, but it's not easy to find a high-level Saint King alchemist. Let's go to the Tianding Gate and get to know this bastard. If he can participate in the first Sage Assembly of 100 Realms and get a ranking, our Xiantian Empire will give him some rewards, said Qian Ziwei after thinking for a while. Then let's go to the Tianding Gate. Qian Yu agreed immediately. He still wanted to fight with Night Sorrow. He was in a passive position when chatting, so he was very depressed. Qian Ziwei, Qian Xiangwei, and Qian Yu arrived at the Tianding Gate. Elder Xiang wasn't there. Yan Huifeng was there to receive them. Yan Huifeng hadn't been in seclusion recently, so he was calming down. Currently, there are only 2 people in the Tianding Gate who can refine the spirit comprehension pill. King is in seclusion all year round. If he doesn't show up, we can't find him. The other person is our Danding Peak's Peak Lord, Night Sorrow. He can refine it. I'll bring the 2 princesses and princes over, said Yan Huifeng to Qian Ziwei and the other 2. When they arrived at Danding Peak, Hua Yunpeng and Zhu Jiuyun's clones received them. Knowing that Night Sorrow wasn't there, Qian Yu muttered, "This bastard isn't here. Did he leave Xiantian Empire City and didn't come back? How can you say that?" Zhu Jiuyun was unhappy after hearing Qian Yu's words. "I'm sorry. He made me angry." Qian Yu was stunned for a moment before apologizing. Then, Zhu Jiuyun called Wu Lingfei over. Wu Lingfei then crushed Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. Night Sorrow, who was still wandering around, felt his own messaging crystal shatter. He took the teleportation array and rushed back to Danding Peak. Seeing Qian Yu and the others, Night Sorrow was stunned. "You bastard, why are you still here? Didn't you say that you could come find me 3 years later when you want to go? What are you doing here now? Can't you be more reasonable? I can't come to the Tianding Gate in less than 3 years." Qian Yu was furious after being scolded by Night Sorrow. "Alright, you're awesome. The leg is on you. You can go wherever you want. Then tell me what you want." Night Sorrow found a seat and sat down. "It's like this. I'm Qian Ziwei. I'm planning to ask Master Knight to refine some pills." Qian Ziwei was speechless. She could see that there was no conflict between Night Sorrow and Qian Yu. They just didn't get along with each other. Therefore, she couldn't be bothered to ask. "Master Knight, this is Princess Ziwei from the Xiantian dynasty of the Tianxian world. She wants to refine some spirit enlightenment pills. The materials are ready." Yan Huifeng was a little stunned. Night Sorrow didn't like the only male direct descendant of the Xiantian dynasty, Qian Yu. He didn't even give him any face. Night Sorrow greets Princess Ziwei. "Please forgive me if I've offended you." Night Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands at Qian Ziwei. "Master Knight, you're too polite. My brother has been spoiled by us sisters. Please don't take offense if he's offended you. I have some peak Saint Kings in the Black Scale Army. They've always been fighting to protect the Tianxian world. Therefore, I plan to refine some spirit enlightenment pills to increase their chances of comprehending intent. How will the cost be calculated?" Qian Ziwei asked. "You update square root newbie fastest OB up unspecified currency, protect the Tianxian world?" Night Sorrow was stunned. "Yes. Their existence isn't to protect the Xiantian dynasty but the Tianxian world. Even if the Xiantian dynasty is destroyed in the internal war of the Tianxian world, they won't interfere. This is the order of the Great Ancestor." Qian Ziwei nodded. Chapter 1005. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/little? Shoa.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Can you do it? Don't waste my sister's materials. Qian Yu said. What's wrong with you? Night Sorrow turned and glared at Qian Yu. You, don't say any more. Teacher Night, when are we coming to get the pills? Qian Ziwei looked at Qian Yu and asked Night Sorrow. When? Just wait here, it won't take long. Take out the materials. Night Sorrow shook his head. After sizing up Night Sorrow again, Qian Ziwei took out some materials and placed them on the table. 3 furnaces of materials. Night Sorrow said. Yes, 1 furnace is enough. Qian Ziwei nodded. Normally, when finding an alchemist to refine a pill, 3 furnaces of materials in exchange for 1 furnace of finished product. Because there was a chance of failure, 1 furnace of materials was prepared for failure and 1 furnace of materials was the alchemist's reward. Yi Shang sorted the materials and took out 2 alchemy furnaces. One was for refining the main material, while the other was for refining the supplementary materials. Then, he began refining. Don't all alchemists need assistance to refine high-level pills? He's just directly refining. Won't he waste the materials? Qian Ziwei said. I don't care who you are. Since you're here to ask someone to refine pills, please respect him. Wu Lingfei heard Qian Ziwei's words and was unhappy. So many good novels. Qian Ziwei looked to the side. Now that she had her brother's enlightenment, the feeling of not being able to fight back was really uncomfortable. 10 hours later, Night Sorrow's furnace of spirit comprehension pills came out of the furnace and put it into a jade bottle. Then it was the second furnace. After a day and a half, Night Sorrow finished refining 3 furnaces of spirit comprehension pills. All of them were successful without a single failure. Princess Ziwei, I didn't disappoint you. Keep the 3 furnaces of spirit comprehension pills. Night Sorrow wiped his hands with the towel that Aoi handed over. After taking a look at the elixir, Qian Ziwei bowed slightly to Night Sorrow. This is a high-quality elixir. Teacher Night's alchemy skills are unparalleled. Princess Ziwei is too polite. I have said before that I respect those who protect our homeland. I also hope to do something for them, Night Sorrow said. Well said. My little brother is not very sensible. Don't mind him, Qian Ziwei said. She had some understanding of Night Sorrow's personality. It's nothing. I won't stoop to his level, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Who's not on the same level as who? What did you say, what did you say? Qian Yu's eyes were about to turn blue from anger at Night Sorrow. Haha. There's nothing wrong with chatting and laughing. Everyone, take a seat. We've been watching Master Yi concoct pills all this while. We haven't even drunk any tea yet. Yan Huifeng said. He was now in awe of Night Sorrow. No one could make the 2 princesses and princes of the Xiantian Empire lose their temper. Qian Yu looked at Night Sorrow and said, Let me ask you, are you going to the ceremony of the first saint of 100 realms? Why are you so excited about whether I'm going or not? Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of water. This is a chance to bring glory to the profound sky world. How can I not be excited? Xianren slammed his hands on the table as he spoke. Bring glory to the profound sky world? The sky profound world South Sky Dynasty slaughters my 9-domain world every 10,000 years, harvesting the saint crystals of our 9-domain world as materials. You want me to win glory for the sky profound world? Yi Shang was a little angry, and his voice was agitated. Master Yi, these are the internal conflicts of the profound sky world. No matter how wrong the Tian-Nan dynasty is, or how you want to take revenge, it doesn't matter. But this time, we are dealing with outsiders, Qian Ziwei said. Perhaps. At that time, I didn't answer Qian Yu directly. I just wanted to think about it, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. I didn't think it through enough. It was a little difficult, but you can't ignore the big picture just because of a villain. Participating in the first saint of 100 realms will be beneficial to you personally. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Qian Yu calmed down. Night Sorrow nodded and didn't say anything. He had been avoiding this question and didn't agree because he still had some choices in his heart. After that, everyone stopped talking about this topic. After all, Night Sorrow had made it very clear. Qian Ziwei, Qian Xiangwei, and Qian Yu didn't leave either. They stayed in the bamboo forest house. Qian Yu wanted to find Night Sorrow to spar with. Night Sorrow didn't refuse to spar with him. He also wanted to train himself. Seeing Night Sorrow and Qian Yu spar, Qian Ziwei and Qian Xiangwei knew why Qian Yu was so depressed and angry. Night Sorrow didn't attack strongly, but every time he used his spear, he would interrupt Qian Yu's attack. Qian Yu didn't have a chance to use his full strength. After the spar, Night Sorrow stayed with his family. After following his sister back to the guest room, Qian Yu asked his two sisters how they could resolve this situation. No, your speed is at a complete disadvantage. Your attack power is also inferior to his, so you can't win. Qian Ziwei was a half-step king. She could see Night Sorrow and Qian Yu's situation clearly. Then there's no other way. Qian Yu shook his head helplessly. Some people are favored by the heavens. Night Sorrow is one of them. His willpower is a pure high-level attribute willpower. Ordinary willpower, even fused ordinary willpower, is useless. I've never heard of anyone controlling a pure high-level willpower. It's too heaven-defying, Qian Ziwei said. Night Sorrow told his family about the first sage ceremony of the 100 Realms. I think you need to participate, Wu Lingfei said. You can't let Tiannan dynasty's matters affect your own development. Your own development is also very important. Yes, you need to participate. You need to improve your strength to have a chance of defeating Tiannan dynasty. Yi Wuyo had the same opinion as Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow thought about it and nodded. He felt that Wu Lingfei and his father were right. He had to seize the opportunity to improve himself. When he invited Qian Ziwei and the others for tea again, Night Sorrow was surprised that Qian Yu was not going to spar. Night Sorrow, think about it, Qian Yu said. I think you should go, but I won't make things difficult for you. My two sisters and I will go back first. We've disturbed you during this time. I'm not used to you being so polite. I've thought about it and decided to go. Maybe you're right. Night Sorrow said. Okay. I'll look for you when the time comes. Qian Yu waved his arm. Master Yi, are you interested in joining the Black Scale Army of the Heaven Mystic World? Qian Ziwei asked. Princess Ziwei, I'm sorry, but I'm a newcomer to the Heaven Mystic World. I don't know anything, so I can't answer you directly. Night Sorrow said embarrassedly. Okay, you can think about it. I'm the manager of the Black Scale Army, but the army commander and 2 vice-army commanders are king. They're still very high level. I'll make the appropriate arrangements. Qian Ziwei said. Chapter 1006. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/little? I'll provide you with some interesting novels to read. So many good novels. Well, I won't force you, but the higher-ups in the army are very free. They can only be there when there's a war. If you go, you can be the commander. Alright, let's not talk about it anymore. Thank you very much. If you need any help in the future, you can find me at the Xian Tian dynasty. Qian Ziwei smiled at Night Sorrow. Then, she led Qian Xiangwei and Qian Yu out of the bamboo grove and away from the Tianding gate. While Night Sorrow was thinking, Yan Huifeng and Zhu Jiuyun arrived. They left? Yan Huifeng sat down and asked with a smile. They left. What's the situation with the Black Scale Army? Night Sorrow asked. It's the guard army of the mysterious sky world. It was established by the founding emperor of the mysterious sky dynasty, the mysterious sky monarch. It has a high status and does not interfere with any internal conflicts in the mysterious sky world. However, the one in charge has always been the Qian family of the mysterious sky dynasty, Yan Huifeng said. Night Sorrow, this army doesn't mean much to you. You don't plan to join. Why are you thinking about this? Zhu Jiuyun said. I refined elixirs for them. I want to know if Qian Ziwei is telling the truth, Night Sorrow said. It's very difficult to join the Black Scale Army. The members of the army can do whatever they want in the mysterious sky world. No one dares to provoke them. The Black Scale Army does not interfere with internal conflicts in the mysterious sky world. However, if anyone dares to provoke them, they will seek revenge. The army commander is the Thousand Tyrant King, an unreasonable guy. If you have the chance, you should join. This means that you will have a firm foothold in the mysterious sky world. Yan Huifeng said, I like this kind of website the most. You must give it a good review. She invited me, but I rejected her. I don't have the time right now. I have to break through to the King realm first. This is the most important thing, Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yan Huifeng was stunned. This was a rare opportunity for other cultivators, but Night Sorrow rejected it directly. Cultivate first, but don't enter the Sovereign King realm within the next 3 years. The first Sage Assembly of the 100 Worlds is a grand event. Only those below the Sovereign King realm can participate. Even half-step Sovereign Kings can participate, but once you enter the Sovereign King realm, you won't have the chance. If you get into the top 10, you will have the opportunity to cultivate in the will of the heavens and earth, which will greatly increase your chances of entering the Sovereign King realm. After entering the Sovereign King realm, your chances of comprehending the will also increase greatly, Yan Huifeng explained. Yan Huifeng shook his head, because Saint Kings had no chance. Even peak stage Saint Kings did not have much of a chance, because those who went were practically all half-step Saint Kings. Can avatars participate? Night Sorrow asked. No, it has to be the original body. Avatars can't be hidden. Let's not talk about the King realm first. Many sovereigns will attend the first Sage Conference of the 100 Realms. Using avatars will be a serious problem. Yan Huifeng shook his head. After being in a daze for a while, Yan Huifeng left. Yi Shang was having a headache. His original body was still in the midst of intense cultivation. If his original body went to participate in the will of the heavens and earth's cave abodes to cultivate, then his original body's comprehension would have to stop, which would delay his time to enter the Sovereign King realm. However, if he did not participate, his comprehension of the will of heaven and earth and the will of heaven and earth would also be a problem. Since he couldn't figure it out, Night Sorrow stopped thinking about it. His doppelganger began to cultivate his battle skills. His battle skills needed to be improved. His original body's comprehension of the will of heaven and earth was getting deeper and deeper. This was a great support for his spatial attacks. As for the people around Night Sorrow, they were all cultivating in the pagoda of time and space. The god-slaying team would sometimes go out to train. The rest of the time, they cultivated in the pagoda of time and space. Half a year passed. Night Sorrow's 3 wives had entered the Saint Realm one after another. They had survived the lightning tribulation and had a lifespan of 3,000 years. The other members of the god-slaying team had also improved rapidly. Yun Huang and Liang Yu were both peak sovereigns. With the saint crystals that Night Sorrow had obtained, they had already begun to comprehend the laws. At the same time, Ling Long and Qin Zhen were also comprehending the laws. Guan Yi was in a strange state. He was searching for something in the blank memory of the Dark Spirit Saint. As for Tianyu, he had entered the Saint realm early and had time acceleration. He was now a mid-level saint. Yi Mei had caught up later and was now a 3-star saint. Father Gu had also successfully entered the 5th level. In the process of drinking again, Night Sorrow gave Father Gu a 10,000 life boundless elixir. This way, Father Gu unknowingly gained 10,000 years of lifespan. As for the others around Night Sorrow, they didn't need to use the 10,000 life boundless elixir yet. Night Sorrow's main body continuously activated the 7th bloodline energy point. Although there was still a long way to go, after corresponding with the will of heaven and earth, Night Sorrow's comprehension of the will of space deepened a lot. His comprehension of the will began to advance. The half-step king's strength varied. It was related to one's combat strength, attributes, and comprehension of the will of heaven and earth. Comprehending 10% of the will of heaven and earth was the king realm. Comprehending 50% of this 10% would make one a half-step king. Between 50% and 10%, one would be a half-step king. However, the difference between 50% and 90% was still very big. As time passed, Night Sorrow's comprehension of the will of space deepened. From 50% to 60% to 70%, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. If he continued to cultivate, it would be easy for him to break through to the king realm. However, he still had to participate in the first Saint of 100 Realms assembly, so he could only delay his breakthrough to the king realm. Look at ##Xingjia$. After the main body stopped cultivating and returned, Night Sorrow's clone merged with the main body. Half a year before the first Saint of 100 Realms assembly, Qianyu ran to Night Sorrow's place and continued to spar with Night Sorrow. However, after one spar, he stopped. He was very depressed. He originally thought that after working hard for 2 years, the gap between him and Night Sorrow would be smaller. However, in reality, he was still suppressed by Night Sorrow. What Qianyu didn't know was that Night Sorrow didn't use the full will of space. If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to fight. Night Sorrow was afraid of hurting him. 3 months after Qianyu arrived at the bamboo grove, Qian Ziwei and Qian Qiangwei also arrived. They were going to follow Qianyu to the 9 Heavens realm. Night Sorrow's parents and wife, Wu Lingfei, Xuexi, and Zhu Jiuyun also planned to go and watch. Normally, it was very difficult to watch. The first Saint of 100 Realms assembly didn't prohibit watching, but there weren't many people who could watch closely. However, the Xiantian dynasty had some spots, so Qian Ziwei could bring everyone. Since old Xiang wasn't there, Night Sorrow greeted Yan Huifeng and left with Qian Ziwei and the others. After leaving the Tianding gate, Night Sorrow asked, "Princess Ziwei, I would like to ask you something." "Master Knight, don't be so polite." "Just ask," said Qian Ziwei. "Can I choose any attribute of the will of heaven and earth cave?" Night Sorrow asked the question he was most concerned about. "Yes, except for the supreme attribute of the will of heaven and earth, you can choose the others." Qian Ziwei nodded. Chapter 1007. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? Show-on-net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Cotton candy novel website Myanhuating. CC updates quickly. The website is clean and has few advertisements. I love this kind of website the most. Actually, Night Sorrow was mainly going for the true meaning of nothingness. After all, the true meaning of time was at the desolate river in the Sky Dome world. Don't worry. You have all 4 attributes of willpower. You won't have a problem. Qianyu patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. Initial release of square root P version. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. He knew his own situation, but some things could not be said. Wu Lingfei also shook her head at Night Sorrow. Some secrets were better kept. Otherwise, it would be fatal. The 9 Heavens world was the largest world near the Sky Mysterious world. There were hundreds of worlds around it. The Sky Mysterious world was 1,000 times bigger than the 9 Regions world, but it was still much smaller in front of the 9 Heavens world. Under Qian Ziwei's lead, the group arrived at the 9 Heavens world's 9 Heavens city. It was the first city of the 9 Heavens world. It should be called the first city of the 100 worlds. The ceremony of the first saint of the 100 worlds was held at the 9 Heavens mountain in the 9 Heavens city. After Qian Ziwei brought the group to the 9 Heavens mountain, someone came to receive them. After checking their tokens, they were arranged to stay in a guest house. Princess Ziwei, this is the resting area of the Sky Mysterious world. This city is really grand. The 9 Heavens mountain is really majestic. Night Sorrow said emotionally. If you have feelings, can you not say it? I know you're a country bumpkin. Qianyu looked at Night Sorrow with disdain. So what if I'm a country bumpkin? Who can bite me? Night Sorrow looked at Qianyu and said. You're proud of being a country bumpkin. I don't know you. Qian Yu turned to look at the other side. I'm willing to know you. Night Sorrow glared at Qian Yu. You two are the same. Qian Ziwei shook her head helplessly. She could not convince Qian Yu. She also could not persuade Night Sorrow. After that, the group settled down. Night Sorrow didn't dare to cultivate right now. If he made a breakthrough, then it would be a waste of time. Although there was a desolate river where he could comprehend the will of time, it was still good to have another place to comprehend it. After all, different places where the will of heaven and earth manifested would display different things. Night Sorrow also knew that the will of time and will of space could be superimposed. There was a saying about the will of time and space, but it needed to be fused. The prerequisite was a kind of pellet. The pellet's level was not high, but it was hard to find the ingredients. It was called the dual polarity pellet, but Night Sorrow already had the ingredients. Half a month after Night Sorrow stayed in the Sky Profound World, some people came to the Sky Profound World. It was Chen Bai, Heifeng, and Qing Yin. After receiving the news, Night Sorrow went to welcome them. Hee, we went to the Tianding Gate and found out that you were in the Nine Heavens realm, so we came to take a look. We didn't expect you to really be here. Chen Bai cupped his hands at Night Sorrow. We left a few days earlier, so we might have missed you. Night Sorrow brought them to his room and took out a tea table to make tea. This is my third senior sister, Qing Yin. Heifeng introduced Qing Yin to Night Sorrow. Greetings, Holy King Qing Yin. Night Sorrow cupped his hands at Qing Yin. Those who hadn't entered the king's realm were considered holy kings, so Night Sorrow addressed her as such. Qing Yin thanks Holy King Night Sorrow for extending my life. Qing Yin cupped her hands at Night Sorrow. You're welcome. Just call me Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled. What are you two doing here? Qian Yu, who came out of his room, saw Chen Bai and Heifeng, and said rudely. What does our visit have to do with you? Heifeng replied when he heard Qian Yu's rudeness. What level are you at? Won't people laugh at you if you say that? Sit down and have some tea. Night Sorrow was speechless. Qian Yu and Heifeng were vulgar. They were no different from ruffians in the marketplace. Yes, a battle is a battle. We don't have any grudges, so there's no need to take it to heart. Qing Yin said. That's right. I'm Qian Ziwei from the Xiantian dynasty. Greetings, King of No Beginning. Qian Ziwei cupped her hands at Qing Yin and the others. Princess Ziwei. I've heard of Princess Ziwei before. This must be Princess Rose. Qing Yin stood up and cupped her hands at Qian Ziwei and Qian Ziwei. Then everyone chatted casually. Qian Ziwei, Qing Yin, and Chen Bai chatted very well. Qian Yu and Heifeng looked at each other like two roosters. What's going on with you two? Night Sorrow was speechless. He had to say something now. After all, he was the middleman between the two groups. Nothing. It's just that this guy is too arrogant. Heifeng said. How am I arrogant? Qian Yu snorted. All right, it's fate to sit together and drink tea. Everyone, give me some face. Let's not quarrel. Night Sorrow said with a smile. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, the two calmed down. Night Sorrow also understood that Qian Yu and Heifeng, who came from monarch-level forces, were arrogant people. After a while, Qing Yin expressed her gratitude again and left with her two junior brothers. After that, Yi Shang returned to his room as well. A moment later, his three wives came to his room. Half-step King doesn't have any manners. Yang Lei said. Yang Lei and the others knew that Qing Yin and the others came. They just didn't come out. There was nothing to say even if they did. Half-step King is also human. It's normal to have emotions and desires. Night Sorrow said with a smile. 13, you're calm enough. They're a little lacking in manners. Aoi said. Perhaps. It's also because of their personalities. Night Sorrow said with a smile. The state of mind is the state of mind. They were born in a large world, but they definitely haven't seen as much as Night Sorrow as the Realm Lord. Their state of mind is a little lacking. Wu Lingfei came to Night Sorrow's room. Haha. Aunt Fei is here. Aunt Fei is improving very quickly. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Among the people around Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei's cultivation speed was the fastest. She was now a peak 4-star Holy King and was on her way to becoming a 5-star Holy King. It's all because of your time-space pagoda. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so fast. Wu Lingfei nodded at Yishang. When Yishang's avatar was outside, the space-time pagoda was placed in the bamboo grove. Everyone around him could go in and cultivate. This way, it wouldn't affect their cultivation. We have to work hard. You're already rushing towards the king's realm. We can't just stay here. Xueshi also entered Night Sorrow's room. You're all doing well. I'm just lucky. You can participate in the next first sage ceremony of the 100 Realms. Night Sorrow said. He knew that the cultivators of the 9 domains world were too inexperienced and needed time, including himself. Maybe by the next first sage ceremony of the 100 Realms, we'll have already entered the king's realm. Wu Lingfei said. She was very confident in herself. Haha. I was wrong. It's my fault. We'll all be kings in the future. There's no problem. Night Sorrow smiled embarrassedly. He knew that compared to other cultivators, the people around him didn't lack talent. What they lacked was time and foundation. Chapter 1008. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? This is a wonderful novel for you to read. Quick update. The website is clean and has few advertisements. I love this kind of website. You must leave a good review. In fact, there were many half-step king realm cultivators who couldn't enter the king's realm. Many people were just a little bit away, but they couldn't enter the king's realm and died due to the limitations of their lifespan. The king's realm was a giant that didn't have lifespan limitations. It wasn't easy to enter. For example, the Tianding Gate had been passed down for tens of thousands of years, and only old Xiang was a king. Those who could enter the king's realm were all geniuses. The group chatted casually, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. This was what Night Sorrow liked the most. He was happy to see people around him being harmonious and not fighting. Night Sorrow didn't cultivate will comprehension. He couldn't improve his foundation. He just practiced his spear arts every day, looking for the feeling of the will of space, and fusing it into his spear arts. Night Sorrow had already comprehended 90% of the will of space. The most obvious aspect was speed. Movement speed and attack speed were 2 types of speed that greatly increased combat power. Xian Ziwei and her brother often came to Night Sorrow to drink tea and chat. Xian Ziwei was especially interested in Night Sorrow. She liked refining. During one of their conversations, she learned that Night Sorrow was also proficient in refining, so she often asked for advice. Night Sorrow couldn't talk about the inheritance, but he could still talk about his personal understanding of refining with Xian Ziwei. Author, Qing Yin, Chen Bai, and Heifeng also often came to drink tea and chat with Night Sorrow. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. The first sage of the 100 World ceremony was getting closer and closer. Night Sorrow was also a bit annoyed. The reason for Night Sorrow's irritation wasn't the pressure of the first sage of the 100 Realms grand ceremony, but the first sage of the 100 Realms grand ceremony was delaying his time. If it weren't for the first sage of the 100 Realms grand ceremony, he would have cultivated in seclusion and would have been able to comprehend the last bit of the will of space. But now, he could only wait. No one could understand why Night Sorrow was so anxious. The ceremony of the first saint of the 100 Realms was just around the corner. Everyone should be excited. Sister-in-law Sikong, what's the situation with Night Sorrow? Qian Yu, who had been scolded by Night Sorrow, asked Sikong Chuyu and the others. Qian Yu quarreled with Night Sorrow, but he was very respectful to the people around Night Sorrow. I don't know. Maybe something affected his mood. It shouldn't have anything to do with the first sage of the 100 Realms ceremony. Sikong Chuyu said. We can't provoke this guy now. I didn't say anything just now. He just yelled at me. Qian Yu rubbed his nose. I'm sorry. We don't know about Night Sorrow's situation either. His mood has always been very stable. Who knows what happened to him in the past few days? Aoi cupped her hands and apologized to Qian Yu, Qian Ziwei, and the others. Haha. It's nothing. Everyone has a bad mood sometimes. Night Sorrow is also a sentimental person, Qian Ziwei said with a smile. At this time, Wu Lingfei had brewed a pot of tea and was talking to Night Sorrow, asking about Night Sorrow's situation. Night Sorrow didn't hide anything from Wu Lingfei and told her about his situation. There's no rush. You can first comprehend the will of space as a foundation. When things are settled here, you can go back and break through, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. After knowing about Night Sorrow's situation, she was really happy because this meant that the 9 regions world would soon have a king. This meant that a new era was coming. Auntie Fei, you don't know. I can take that step very soon, but I have to wait. This feeling is very unpleasant, Night Sorrow said. Don't worry. Good things are never too late. Don't worry. Look at how happy I was when I found out, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Good things are never too late. I'll wait. Auntie Fei, you don't know. I've always wanted to turn around and go back to cultivate in peace. Now that I've heard Auntie Fei's words, I feel a little better, Night Sorrow said. Drink a cup of tea to calm your heart. Just treat it as accompanying Auntie Fei and chew you out to relax. Besides, you have a place to comprehend the will of space, and there's no place for the other wills to manifest. You can't give up on comprehending the other wills, so this is a great opportunity, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. Yes, there are gains and losses. However, in comparison, the losses are smaller. In other words, I'll enter the king's realm later. Seeing that Night Sorrow's mentality and emotions had changed, Wu Lingfei felt a little relieved. Night Sorrow, who came out of Wu Lingfei's room, once again became the calm Night Sorrow who faced everything. After stabilizing his emotions, Night Sorrow held the reincarnation spear and brandished it one by one, searching for the feeling of the spear. You're in a good mood, Qian Yu said as he walked over. I was a little uneasy a few days ago. If I've offended you, please forgive me. Night Sorrow nodded at Qian Yu. He recalled that his attitude towards Qian Yu was indeed bad a few days ago. It's nothing. Everyone will scold you when they're in a bad mood, as long as you're happy, Qian Yu said with a smile. You're so manly. Night Sorrow gave Qian Yu a thumbs up. I can't help it. Am I supposed to scold you back? I'm not that kind of person, Qian Yu said with a smile. Night Sorrow took out 2 jars of wine and threw one to Qian Yu. This is good wine. I usually don't bear to take it out. I'll have to try it. Qian Yu opened a wine jar and drank a mouthful. Night Sorrow also opened a wine jar and drank a mouthful with Qian Yu. It's strong enough and has a long aftertaste. It's a rare good wine, Qian Yu said. There's good wine. Can't just the 2 of you drink it? Take out some more. Qian Ziwei and Qian Xiangwei walked over. No problem. As long as Princess Ziwei doesn't mind. Night Sorrow took out another jar of wine. New chapter, section P above ZB, I'll call the servants to send some dishes over. Qian Xiangwei smiled and went to call the servants. Night Sorrow also called Wu Lingfei, Xueshi, Zhu Jiuyun, and his 3 wives. As for his parents, they were still cultivating in the space-time pagoda. As they drank, everyone became more talkative. I've never drunk with strangers. Today, we're drinking together. From now on, Night Sorrow is my brother. If there's anything, just call me. I'll definitely be there, Qian Yu looked at Night Sorrow and said. You're a sentimental person. I'll acknowledge you as my brother, but not for now. Knight Sorrow shook his head and said. What do you mean? Are you looking down on me? I, Qianyu, am a man without relying on my family background. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Qianyu panicked. It's not that I'm looking down on you. When I'm done with Tian dynasty, we'll be brothers. Knight Sorrow raised his head and drank 2 mouthfuls of wine. What's wrong with that? You're overthinking it. Qianyu smiled. He did not care about Knight Sorrow's reason. Chapter 1009. The enmity between me and the South Sky Dynasty is as deep as the ocean. As long as I'm alive, I must eradicate the South Sky Dynasty, so you can't be my brother right now. Knight Sorrow shook his head. Your brother is Qianyu, not the prince of the Black Sky Dynasty. The one who fights with you is also Qianyu. The one who drinks with you is also Qianyu, said Qianyu. All right. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. You're still so shy. Geez, bring more wine. Qianyu looked at Knight Sorrow and patted the wine jug. Knight Sorrow smiled and took out a few more jugs of wine. He placed them on the table. Princess Ziwei, Princess Rose, let's drink to our heart's content today. You're my brother's brother. If you don't mind, you can call me Sister Ziwei, said Qian Ziwei. Sister Ziwei, Sister Rose. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands at the 2 sisters. All right, but we need a greeting gift. I've never experienced this before, so I don't know what to give you, said Qian Ziwei excitedly. There's really no need for that. I'm not calling you sister as a greeting gift, said Knight Sorrow. Everyone had a good time drinking this meal, and it lasted for 4 hours before it ended. After resting for a night, Knight Sorrow also had to prepare for the first Sage of the 100 Realms ceremony because it would officially begin in 2 days. Quite a few people from the profound heaven world had come, but before Knight Sorrow and Qian Ziwei arrived, they were arranged to stay in the courtyard next to theirs. The other guest pavilions were also full. As for the rules of the first Sage of the 100 Realms ceremony, Knight Sorrow had learned a bit. Qian Ziwei had told Knight Sorrow that the process was a selection, and the finals. There were simply too many people participating, so they had to go through layers and layers of selections until the final 100 people were ranked. What made Knight Sorrow a bit hesitant was that the middle stage was similar to the Heaven's Sealing Palace. Those who passed would receive a title. However, Knight Sorrow already had a title from the 9 Domains world, so what would happen if he also received a title? Since he had already reached this level, Knight Sorrow would not back down. He had to enter the heavenly Tao will cave Knight Sorrow. If there was no nihility will, he would start with the will of time. R is the only positive R version, the other JR is the pirate version. Brother, you're not agitated. I'm a little. Qianyu carried the wine jar to Knight Sorrow's room. It's all right. Didn't they say that the top 10 would have a chance? Let's work harder. If we really can't do it, then we're not as good as others. There's nothing to say, said Knight Sorrow with a smile. You're right. Let's work harder. If we can't do it, then we have nothing to say. It's our honor to be able to participate in the first Sage of the 100 Realms ceremony after coming to the 9 Firmament world. I wonder how many of the previous titled Sage Kings will participate, said Qianyu as he opened the wine jar. What do you mean by that? Asked Knight Sorrow, puzzled. Are you stupid? The first Sage of the 100 Realms ceremony is held once every 3,000 years. The Sage Kings who obtained a ranking last time did not die, nor did they enter the King's realm. Whether they come or not, they're the most shameless. They're all old fellows who have cultivated for thousands of years, said Qianyu. In fact, it wasn't just Qianyu who thought this. Many people were not afraid of their peers. Even the half-step king was about the same. However, the half-step king who had participated in the first Sage of the 100 Realms ceremony 3,000 years ago was terrifying. After 3,000 years of accumulation, his battle experience and battle strength were not something that newcomers could compare to. Actually, I just found out about this. If you think about it directly, these people have cultivated for a long time, so their strength might be very terrifying. However, if you think about it from another angle, it's not the case, said Night Sorrow as he poured a bowl of wine for Qianyu. I don't understand. How did it become not the case when it came to you? Asked Qianyu after drinking a bowl of wine. Experts are experts no matter the time. If they're weak, it's useless no matter how much time you give them. They haven't broken through in 3,000 years and still want to fight for a second opportunity. What's there to be afraid of? They're just a bit more experienced, said Night Sorrow with a smile. That's true. What's there to be afraid of if they haven't broken through in 3,000 years? Qianyu laughed heartily when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Night Sorrow's words made him feel less apprehensive. Qianyu's laughter attracted Qian Ziwei, Qian Qiangwei, and Night Sorrow's 3 wives to enter Night Sorrow's room. Fortunately, the room was big enough for everyone to sit down and chat. What's wrong with you? Asked Qian Ziwei. Sister, you keep telling me to be careful of the titled Sage Kings who participated in the last titled Sage King, but Night Sorrow doesn't think so. He thinks they're just ordinary. Idiots who haven't broken through in 3,000 years have nothing to be afraid of. They're just a bit more experienced. If we meet them, we'll fight. If we can't beat them, just say we can't beat them, said Qianyu with a smile. Little brother Night Sorrow, you're right. There's no need to be afraid. Otherwise, we'll be at a disadvantage, said Qian Ziwei with a smile. Sister Ziwei, we're the best. We don't need to be afraid of anyone. Night Sorrow nodded at Qian Ziwei and Qian Qiangwei. They both wanted to participate. Little brother Night Sorrow, you're right. After the first sage ceremony of the 100 Worlds, bring your family to the Xiantian dynasty. I'll cook a feast for you, said Qian Qiangwei with a smile. Then Qian Ziwei told Yi Shang to be careful of the Yuan spirit world, which was the archenemy of the profound sky world. The 2 worlds hated each other, and if the 2 worlds met, the other side would definitely target them. While they were chatting, a middle-aged couple arrived at the guest pavilion. The middle-aged man stood there like a sword piercing the sky. The woman in her 30s was also graceful and elegant. The moment the 2 came in, Qian Ziwei brought her sister and brother out of Night Sorrow's room. She bowed to the couple and called them father and mother. Night Sorrow greets the Xiantian dynasty lord. Night Sorrow and his 3 wives also cupped their hands to greet the middle-aged couple. He knew that this middle-aged man was the current ruler of the Xiantian dynasty. Young and handsome. Ziwei, why don't you introduce them to father, said the middle-aged man with a smile. Father, he's Night Sorrow. He's Yu's brother. I also recognize him as my brother. These are his wives, Night Sorrow. Sister-in-law, this is my father and mother, said Qian Ziwei. This is a good thing. Night Sorrow, why does this name sound so familiar, said the middle-aged man as he rubbed his brows. The middle-aged man was an overlord in the profound heaven world. His name was Qian Zhenyu. People called him King Zhenyu. His wife was also very famous. Her name was Yunyu, Liu King Yunyu. He has some enmity with the Tiannan dynasty. He massacred 4 of their cities, so he's wanted, said Qian Ziwei. I remember now. It's not a big deal. It's good that young people can cause trouble. I'm just afraid that they can't. If they can, it's a skill, said Qian Zhenyu with a smile. Your Majesty, this way please, said Yi Shang. Zhenyu, this child is so young, said Yunyu as she sized up Night Sorrow. Speak. Chapter 10:10. Qian Zhenyu walked to the tea table in the courtyard and sat down. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, a half-step king who is more than 100 years old. If I'm not mistaken, you can enter the king's realm at any time, right? Imperial Lord, you can even tell? Night Sorrow asked in surprise. Yes. Because I'm good at perception, I can see through other people's situations. I've never heard of a high-level king with the will of space. Of course, it could be that I'm ignorant, but you're good. There's no doubt about that, Qian Zhenyu said. After staying here for a while and chatting with Night Sorrow and the others, Qian Zhenyu and his wife left. Zhenyu, that young man really has a chance to enter the king's realm, Yunyu asked after leaving the guest house. Yes, he can enter the king's realm at any time. He's also a king with the will of space. The most terrifying thing is that he's the lord of the world. Although he deliberately suppressed it, he has the power of the world origin protecting him. He can't hide it from me, Qian Zhenyu said. Yunyu looked at her husband in shock. She didn't doubt her husband's eyesight because Qian Zhenyu had a secret technique called the Eye of Tao that could see through some illusions and point to the essence. The Tiannan dynasty has kicked an iron plate this time. The Tianxian world will be in big trouble in the future. When he enters the king's realm, the ordinary first or second level kings will be bullied. He can control the will of space and must be good at speed. Yunyu, you know what this means, Qian Zhenyu said with a smile. Qian Zhenyu was also disgusted with the current Tiannan dynasty because they were unscrupulous. It was a completely different concept from when Shang-Xi was the imperial lord. If he becomes the king of space, his speed will be terrifying. He can run away after killing. Shang Tianfeng can't do anything. If his daughter and son are with him, there may be more trouble, but it may be a good thing. After all, such a person has great luck, Yunyu said. Don't interfere with the children's affairs. They also need friends, Qian Zhenyu said. According to what you said, he is about to enter the king realm. His will is at least 90%. Normal half-step kings are not his match. He has hope of becoming the first sage of the 100 realms. Yunyu thought of another problem. Let's wait and see. The appearance of a century-old half-step king is bound to shock some people, including the sovereigns. The great ancestor will be very happy, Qian Zhenyu said with a smile. Zhenyu, you should greet the great ancestor. If such a talent is easily snatched away by other sovereigns, it will be a loss for the profound heaven world, Yunyu reminded Qian Zhenyu. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the grand ceremony of the first saint of the 100 realms to begin. Night Sorrow brought his parents out of the time and space treasure pagoda. He brought his people and followed Xian Ziwei to Nine Cloud Plaza. Imposing manner. Night Sorrow felt that everything in the Nine Heavens world was imposing. He had never seen such a large plaza with a diameter of hundreds of miles. On one side of the plaza was a towering tower. It was the Nine Heavens Pagoda. There were more than a dozen people sitting in the main seats in front of the Nine Heavens Pagoda. Night Sorrow knew that they were all sovereigns, the leaders of their respective worlds. Someone brought Xian Ziwei and Night Sorrow to the area of the profound heaven world. Qian Zhenyu and Yunyu sat in the front. There were also some other people, including the people of the Tiannan dynasty. Night Sorrow saw his enemy, Shang Jingchun. He was behind the people of the Tiannan dynasty. He was also a member of the ceremony. After all, he was also a peak venerable. Take a seat. There are some things that can be solved in the profound heaven world. Qian Zhenyu nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow brought his people to the seats behind Qian Zhenyu and Yunyu. Don't worry about it. We can talk about it when we get back. Qian Ziwei pulled Night Sorrow and led him to their seats. Yi Wuyo, Yu Qin, and the others sat behind Night Sorrow. I don't care. I'm not here to seek revenge. I'm here to participate in the first saint ceremony of the 100 worlds. Night Sorrow smiled and looked around. He found that there were many factions and many people participating. Night Sorrow didn't know who was participating, but he felt that there were at least a few thousand people because there were many peak saint kings and half-step king saints in each faction. Night Sorrow also saw Luo Qisha and the others. Chen Bai, Qing Yin, and Hei Feng were all there. Seeing Night Sorrow, Luo Qisha and the others smiled and nodded. Night Sorrow also cupped his hands in return. At this time, a middle-aged man in a brocade robe sitting in the middle of the main seat stood up. Very good. Many talents have come to the first Saint ceremony of the 100 Worlds this time. The first Saint ceremony of the 100 Worlds is a chance for you to stand out and fight for your own opportunities. The brocade-robed elder then explained the ceremony's rewards and rules. In the 100 Worlds Saint King ceremony, the top 100 would be rewarded. The top 10 would be rewarded with Saint King weapons, Saint King pills, and the chance to cultivate in the will of heaven and earth's cave. Different rankings would give different amounts of time to cultivate in the will of heaven and earth's cave. The first place would have 100 years, the second place would have 90 years, and so on. The 10th place would have 10 years. Why updated the fastest? Go. Those who were not in the top 10 would not have the chance to cultivate in the will of heaven and earth's cave. They would only be rewarded with resources. There were not many restrictions in the rules. They were not allowed to use poison or soul doppelgangers. However, they could use their own poison techniques. After entering the great competition, life and death would be determined. The first round would be the preliminaries. All the participants would be eliminated. No matter how many people there were, only 1,000 people would be left in the first round. 1,000 peak Saint Kings and half-step King realm cultivators. This was a huge number. There had not been a Saint King in the 9 regions world for 10,000 years. However, this was a big world, a mature world. The mysterious sky world was 1,000 times the size of the 9 regions world. The Sky Dome world was much bigger than the mysterious sky world. There were many worlds like the mysterious sky world and the Sky Dome world around the 9 heavens world. Therefore, the number of peak Saint Kings and half-step King realm cultivators who came to participate in the first Saint ceremony of the 100 Worlds far exceeded the number of 1,000. The rules of the preliminaries were simple and violent. Everyone would go to the big arena in the middle of the square. If they were killed, they would be disqualified. In the end, only 1,000 people would be left in the arena. The preliminaries would be over. Small teams are at a disadvantage. Our mysterious sky world is not as good as some other worlds. Look at the 9 heavens worlds camp. How many peak saints and half-step king realm cultivators are there? Qian Xiangwei muttered. There is no absolute fairness in the world. This round is not a test of fighting ability. It is a test of survival ability. It is enough as long as you can survive, Night Sorrow said. Brother Night Sorrow, we have a defensive matrix. Will you be okay? Qian Xiangwei asked Night Sorrow. If I can't survive the preliminaries, then what's the point of talking about the following battles? Have some confidence in me, Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's true. Don't be too far away from us. This is a battle of life and death, Qian Xiangwei reminded Night Sorrow. Speak. Second watch. Chapter 10-11. After speaking, Night Sorrow took out a storage ring and put it on. He took off his original storage ring, and his clone entered the space-time pagoda with the storage ring. His clone entered the space-time pagoda, but he left the dragon cauldron behind. Since he was here, Night Sorrow would fight with all his might. Night Sorrow, this is not the time to fight. Preserving your strength is the right thing to do, Wu Lingfei said. Not necessarily. There are no soft persimmons here. Whoever attacks me, I will kill them. Let me see how many people are not afraid of death, Night Sorrow said as he let out a sigh. Deterrence is also a method, Yi Wuyo nodded. After that, the participants hung their number plates on their waists and started walking towards the arena. Night Sorrow's number plate was 13. When Qian Ziwei came back from the registration and gave Night Sorrow his number plate, Night Sorrow smiled because it was the same as his ranking in the Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow, Qian Ziwei, and the other people from the Tianxian world walked together to one side of the arena. This is the time to show the strength of a team. No matter how big the conflict is in the Tianxian world, we have to be united against the outside world, Qian Ziwei said. Some people nodded, while others did not say anything. However, no one objected. Since Princess Ziwei has spoken, I think no one will object. I, Shang Jingxian, have no objections, the middle-aged man standing beside Shang Jingxian said. He was the crown prince of the Tiannan dynasty and had a cultivation level that was half a king. His status in the Tiannan dynasty was not something Shang Jingxian could compare to. That's good. Qian Ziwei nodded. You are Knight Sorrow. I hope you can be lucky and survive the selection. If we meet at any other time, Shang Jingxian, we'll definitely kill you. Shang Jingxian had already recognized Knight Sorrow. After all, he was a wanted criminal in the Tiannan dynasty. He had some influence. Shameless boasting, Yi Shan replied with 4 words. You really know how to brag, Qian Yu said after glancing at Shang Jingxian. Qian Yu understood Knight Sorrow's strength. He, a half-step king, had been abused before. Chen Bai had also been abused before. In addition, Qian Ziwei and Qian Xiangwei had also expressed that they were not Knight Sorrow's match. Therefore, when he heard Shang Jingxuan's words, he was very unhappy. Glancing at Qian Yu, Shang Jingxian did not say anything. He could yell at Knight Sorrow, but not Qian Yu. To put it bluntly, in the profound heaven world, the Sky South Empire did not dare to provoke the Xiantian Empire. They were not on the same level. The Xiantian Empire had a sovereign, but the Sky South Empire did not. Knight Sorrow smiled, looking down on people like Shang Jingxian who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Qian Yu scolded him and didn't even dare to fart. Following which, a host walked to the high platform at the side of the arena. He held 2 flags in his hands. The green flag was for battle, and the red flag was for stop. Knight Sorrow held the reincarnation spear in his hand because the next battle would be a desperate one. It was a high-level life and death battle. There were no weaklings here. If one's strength was not enough, then they would be killed. Following the wave of the man's flag on the high platform, the battle on the arena began. Teams began to fight against each other. At this time, no one would be lenient. Teams began to kill each other. Of course, there were also individuals who flew alone. Those were rogue cultivators who had no faction and were strong. Just as Knight Sorrow was observing the battlefield, a team charged towards the profound heaven world's camp. It's the bastards from the Yuan spirit world, Qian Ziwei reminded Knight Sorrow. You guys be careful too. Knight Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and charged towards the people from the Yuan spirit world. At this time, he had to kill. If he did not kill others, others would kill him. In order to avoid exhaustion, Knight Sorrow directly used the will of space to increase his speed and poured the power of desolates into the reincarnation spear. He directly used his strongest state to fight. The spatial attribute protective barrier was strengthened by 90% of the will of space. Knight Sorrow's speed was extremely fast. He charged into the Yuan spirit world's camp and started to kill. At this time, Wu Lingfei and the others were filled with worry. The Yuan spirit world was a team with dozens of people. Knight Sorrow charged in alone. This kid has guts, but a brainless person is destined to not live long. An old man with a cold expression sitting on the main seat said. He was the leader of the Yuan spirit world, the Yuan spirit sovereign. That might not be the case. Maybe he is a tiger in a flock of sheep, another old man wearing a brocade robe said. He was the great ancestor of Qian Yu, the profound heaven sovereign of the profound heaven world. In the cultivation world, cultivators had a long lifespan. A high-level cultivator might have many generations of descendants living at the same time. Therefore, addressing them was a problem. Under normal circumstances, those with a difference of more than 4 generations would be addressed as great ancestor. You two are still the same. But Yuan spirit, it is not appropriate for you to curse a young man. The old man sitting in the middle said. His gaze was also on Knight Sorrow. He was the host this time, the sovereign of the 9th heaven sect of the 9 heavens realm. Sovereign Yuan spirit did not speak. He and the sovereign of the profound heaven sovereign were opponents. He could speak against each other, but he could not offend either of them. Knight Sorrow displayed his speed to the extreme. When he moved, the opponent's attacks all missed. His sky wasteland killing spear was strengthened by the will of space and the attack seemed to be shortened. The moment the spear was shot, no Saint King could block it. After killing the opponent, Little Kong would use his energy to collect the spoils. The Saint Kings were slaughtered. The half-step king could not withstand it. He could dodge 2 spears, but he could not defend against the third. Knight Sorrow's speed was strengthened by the will of space, and the rule of time was accelerated by the time. They both assisted the attack speed. The half-step king was also killed. When Knight Sorrow killed the 6th person, the people of the Yuan spirit world knew that they had encountered a tough opponent. They knew that they had encountered a tough opponent, so they began to besiege Knight Sorrow. Besieging is effective. Then there is not much meaning for the masters to be respected. No one needs to cultivate. Just call on your friends. Seeing Knight Sorrow killing everywhere, the sovereign of the profound heaven sovereign was very happy. He directly threw a knife to the sovereign of the profound heaven sovereign. The sovereign of the profound heaven sovereign had been watching Knight Sorrow's battle. At this time, Knight Sorrow's performance was too dazzling. He was too strong, so he did not defend. When the speed reached a certain level, there was no need to defend. In fact, as the sovereign of the profound heaven sovereign said, besieging was ineffective against Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow's protective shield was constantly being cut. He had been fighting outside the encirclement. It could also be said that there was no encirclement. Besieging was ineffective against Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow killed another 2 opponents. The people of the Yuan spirit world retreated. Because the profound heaven world camp was not easy to kill, they could only change their position. No one was brainless. If they fought recklessly and lost their strength, they would not be able to withstand the attacks of the other teams. 4 up, the Yuan spirit world retreated. Knight Sorrow returned to the profound heaven world camp. This is domineering. Unlike some people who only know how to talk and hide at the crucial moment. Qian Yu laughed. Said. Chapter 10-12. Shang Jingxian looked at Qian Yu angrily, but he didn't say anything. If he said anything, it wouldn't end well for him. Qian Ziwei and her brother were definitely more powerful than him. If they fought, he would be at a disadvantage. The other reason Shang Jingxian didn't attack was that Knight Sorrow was standing next to Qian Ziwei and her brother. If he had a conflict with Qian Ziwei and the others, Knight Sorrow would definitely attack. At that moment, Knight Sorrow was watching Shang Jingxuan's reaction. If Shang Jingxian exploded, he would immediately attack. What a young half-step king. His battle strength is really fierce, not bad, said Sovereign Zi Shao. His battle strength is not bad, said another man wearing a white robe. He had black hair and a white beard. Monarch No Beginning, do you also like this young man? Monarch Zi Shao asked Monarch No Beginning, who had black hair and a white beard. Based on his appearance, he seems to be the little fellow who defeated my 6th disciple in the boundless territory, said Sovereign No Beginning. There were a few sovereigns in the surrounding 100 worlds of the 9 Clouds world, but in terms of prestige, Sovereign No Beginning was the highest. So my disciple went to the boundless territory and didn't get anything because of him, said a green-haired man. Yaoyue, what do you mean by that? Could it be that your disciple is weak and you want to vent your anger on someone else? Asked Sovereign Xian Tian. He could hear that the green-haired man's tone wasn't very good. This has something to do with you, Xian Tian, said Sovereign Xian Tian. His eyes were like black holes. He comes from the profound sky world. What do you think? Sovereign Xian Tian's energy fluctuated. Yaoyue, don't get involved in the affairs of the younger generation. You can afford to lose face like this. My disciple also lost. So what if he lost, said Sovereign No Beginning. It's not that I can't, but I must have the 10,000 life limitless fruit. He has to hand it over, said Sovereign Xian Tian. Moon Demon, you're too arrogant. If you want it, then go ahead. Once the selection is over, we'll cheer everyone up and see if you have the ability to get the limitless longevity fruit. Black Heaven Sovereign was so angry that he laughed. He was already infuriated by Moon Demon Sovereign's arrogance. Yao Yu, I don't care how arrogant you usually are, but in the first saint ceremony of the 100 worlds, in the 9 heavens realm, you should behave yourself, said Yao Yu. Said Sovereign Zi Shao coldly. He wasn't happy either. If Yao Yu made a scene, it meant that he wasn't giving him any face. Moon Demon Monarch shook his green robe and looked at Black Heaven Monarch without saying anything. At this time, the preliminaries in the arena had reached a climax once again. There were too many people, and it was a mess when they started fighting. Under normal circumstances, no one would attack the Xian Celestial Realm camp. But now, they were all in a frenzy and attacked everyone they saw. Knight Sorrow could only wield his spear and fight again. Xian Ziwei and the other 2 siblings started killing behind Knight Sorrow. With Knight Sorrow's strong attacks, Qian Ziwei and Qian Xiangwei's defense, Qian Yu support Knight Sorrow, and the rest of the Xian Tian Imperial Court's people covering the back, everyone was safe. But the rest of the Xian Tian Imperial Court's people were not. When the battle started, some people were injured, pushed back, and some were killed. The 9 region origin bead and Shao Kong were not idle either. They collected the storage rings and weapons of those who died in battle. The people in the arena were all Peak Saint Kings and Half-Step King Kings. They had accumulated a lot of resources in their lives. In the beginning, Knight Sorrow did not know how many people he had killed. He had passed through the chaotic area and arrived at the 9 Heavens Tower. After all, some people did not dare to fight in front of the sovereigns. They were afraid. After stabilizing himself, Knight Sorrow cupped his hands to the dozen or so sovereigns in the main seats. He then turned to face the arena. If anyone came to attack him, he would kill them. As Knight Sorrow was on guard, the MC on the stage waved a red flag. Next, someone beside the main seat struck a large gong. The sound woke up the participants who were still fighting. Alright, the remaining 1,000 people continue to compete. Register your identity plates and go rest, the MC called out. After the battle ended, Knight Sorrow put away his reincarnation spear. He shook his robes and became a calm and steady young man again. This young man is good. I like him, a white-robed woman said with a smile. 7 Reign Sovereign, don't try to poach him in front of me, the Xian Tian Imperial Court Sovereign said helplessly. Everyone likes talents. Everyone has to rely on their own abilities. Brother, no beginning, don't you think so? The white-robed 7 Reign Sovereign said with a smile. How should I say this? I won't comment. The beginning Sovereign shook his head. After registering their identity plates, Knight Sorrow and the others returned to the Xian Celestial Realm seats. However, along the way, Shang Jingxian looked at Knight Sorrow with a murderous gaze. After Knight Sorrow's group of 4 led the Xiantian Imperial Court's people out, the others in the Xian Celestial Realm were not so lucky. Shang Jingxian and Yu Wenhan were not chased off, but Shang Jingchun and 2 other participants from the Tiannan Imperial Court were beaten off. Shang Jingchun was even seriously injured. Well done. Seeing Knight Sorrow return, Qian Jinyu nodded at Knight Sorrow. Yinyu also gave Knight Sorrow a thumbs up because Knight Sorrow could speak. Wu Lingfei knew Knight Sorrow's strength, so she wasn't worried. However, she was worried that Knight Sorrow lacked battle experience and would suffer losses. Yi Sheng nodded. Although he was very confident in himself, he didn't underestimate his opponents at all. In Wu Lingfei's words, some of these people had lived for countless years. It was certain that they had trump cards. Brother Knight Sorrow, don't hesitate when you go on stage. Victory is your only hope, Qian Ziwei said to Knight Sorrow. Speak. Chapter 4. Chapter 10-13. I'm not a rookie, so don't worry. Knight Sorrow smiled. He knew they were all worried about him. Yes. If you're lucky, you'll advance after 3 rounds. If you're unlucky, you'll have to fight again, said Qian Shui. Knight Sorrow nodded. 100 people would be left. 500 would be eliminated in the first round, 250 would be eliminated in the second round, and 125 would be left in the third round. 50 of them would have to fight again to advance to the fourth round. Luck was more important at this time because the remaining people would all be experts. If you fought another round, you might be eliminated and lose your opportunity. After resting for 4 hours, the middle-aged man who had been standing on the high platform stood in front of the arena. Next will be the 2-on-1 battles. The winner will advance to the next round, and the loser will be eliminated. I'll first tell you the rules. No poison, soul avatars, or contract beasts are allowed. Anyone who violates this will be killed, announced the man. Normally, those who violated the rules would be eliminated. But this was the first sage's assembly. If you dared to violate the rules, you would be killed. Why, that's Enchanting King, Purple Firmament's eldest disciple. He's a high-level king, said Qian Jinyu to Qian Ziwei and the others. Seeing that everyone understood, King Yuqiong added another rule. If they couldn't decide a winner within an hour, both of them would be eliminated. Knight Sorrow thought about it and understood. If 2 people were familiar with each other, it would be impossible to stall for time and get a draw. Knight Sorrow had thought that it would be just 2 people fighting in the arena. But that wasn't the case. There were many groups fighting at the same time. Otherwise, it would take a long time for 1,000 people to fight. The arena was rather big. In front of the main seat, someone had carved out 10 smaller arenas. As long as one was knocked out of the arena, it would be considered a loss. Following that, Sovereign King Yuqiong took out a special raw stone from the hands of an attendant. It was a bamboo pot that could not be checked by soul power. Reaching out with his right hand, he sucked out 2 numbers and read them out. After the numbers were announced, 2 people walked onto the stage. Yuqiong's king stretched out his arm and pointed at the first small arena. At this time, there was a king standing guard in front of each small arena. He was also a referee. 20 people were fighting at the same time, and the battle scene was very intense. Knight Sorrow saw a ruthless person. It was a black-clothed old man, and he used a saber. The saber aura was very fierce, and it only took a moment for him to kill his opponent. Black Demon Sage King, ranked 5th in the first sage ceremony of the 100 Realms 3,000 years ago. Qian Ziwei took out a small booklet and gave it to Knight Sorrow. She came from a monarch force, so she had a lot of information. The booklet contained the records of the last first saint of 100 worlds. Knight Sorrow took a look and wrote it down. Then, he gave the little booklet to Qian Ziwei. His soul power was strong, so it was easy for him to write things down. Not only is this guy shameless, but he's also very cruel, Qian Yu said as he watched Black Fiend Saint walk down the arena. Yes, he's very murderous. But people who kill will be killed eventually, Knight Sorrow said. No matter what, we have to be careful. They don't have much time left, so they're crazier. Their minds are even twisted, Qian Ziwei reminded her sister and brother, as well as Knight Sorrow. Yi Sheng nodded. He was not afraid at all. He had comprehended 90% of the will of space. As long as it was not a sovereign king, he did not believe that any saint king or half-step sovereign king would be able to defeat him in an all-out battle. Chapter 10:14. After forcing his opponent to kneel on the ground, Knight Sorrow hesitated and retreated. Now that he had won, he really did not want to kill all of them. Look at the original chapter, Section 1. After retreating a few steps, Knight Sorrow cupped his hands towards Yuqiong King. At this time, the peak stage Saint King who was originally kneeling on the ground switched to his left hand and jumped up, slashing towards the back of his head. If you must die, then I'll fulfill your wish. Yi Sheng roared and turned around. The reincarnation spear suddenly pierced out. This spear seemed to have passed through space and pierced the space between the peak Saint King's eyebrows, piercing through his head and spirit sea. With a shake of his arm, Night Sorrow retrieved his spear. With a twist of his left hand, he took the peak stage St. King's blade and storage ring. Number 13, you won. It's good to be benevolent, but it's not suitable here, Enchanting King said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow understands. You give others a chance, but they might not appreciate it. Night Sorrow sighed and returned to his seat. Little brother Night Sorrow, didn't I tell you not to hold back? You were persistent, but they are all crazy. They don't have any sense of shame, Qian Ziwei said to Night Sorrow. I feel that everyone should not only live for themselves, but also for their parents, wives, and children. Living is a complete family, so I don't want to destroy others. But in fact, I took it for granted. Night Sorrow laughed at himself, because reality had given him a hard slap in the face. The battle continued. Night Sorrow did not have anything to do in the first round. He did not consume much energy, he just watched others fight. Qian Ziwei, Qian Xiangwei, and Qian Yu went up one after another. Qian Ziwei and Qian Yu both won easily, but Qian Xiangwei met a strong opponent. She won the battle, but it was very difficult. 13, have you thought it through? You have a benevolent heart, but you can't do it here. People are being rude to you. You can't let anything happen to you. You've affected too many people's hearts, Aoi said. I understand, sixth senior sister. Let's kill. If we're going to kill, let's kill to our heart's content. Night Sorrow pulled out a wine jug and took a swig. His aura changed. Seeing the change in Night Sorrow's aura, Aoi and the others felt at ease. The elimination round was relatively slow. After all, 500 groups of people needed a long time to fight. In the evening, the 500th round of battles finally ended. However, at this time, Zishao King stood up and said, although there is still some time today, everyone is very nervous on the first day. That's all for today. Go back and prepare for the battles tomorrow. Qian Zhenyu, Yinyu, and the other king of the Celestial Realm led the participants and spectators of the Celestial Realm back to the guest house. Qian Zhenyu and Yinyu chatted with Night Sorrow for a while. They didn't mention today's battles. They just chatted casually. They knew that Night Sorrow already had a summary of today's battles, so there was no need to talk about it. That would only put pressure on Night Sorrow. At this time, Xiantian King and No Beginning King came to the guest house. Behind No Beginning King were Qing Yin, Chen Bai, and Hei Feng. Qian Zhenyu and Yunyu stood up and cupped their hands. Night Sorrow and the others also stood up. Great Ancestor, why are you here? Qian Zhenyu asked. No Beginning King wanted to come and take a look, so I came with him, Xiantian King said. You're Night Sorrow. Qing Yin is my disciple. You helped her solve her lifespan problem. I'm very grateful, No Beginning King said. Lord Monarch, you're too polite, Night Sorrow cupped his hands and said. Huh, not bad. Okay, you know my disciple. You can chat. If you have time, you can come to Endless Mountain. No Beginning King nodded at Night Sorrow and then left the guest house with Xiantian King. It's very stressful, Zhu Jiuyun said. How can it not be stressful? He's a monarch, standing at the peak of the king realm. He's the one who sets the rules, Night Sorrow looked at his 3 wives and said. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went to meditate and rest. He had some things to digest today because a few experts had appeared. Black Fury Holy King was very strong, and Slaughter Holy King was even stronger. Although they had the title of Holy King, the Half-Step King should be the strongest among the Half-Step King realm. Yi Shang had a rough estimation in his heart. 3,000 years ago, they were able to get into the top 10 of the first saint of the 100 realms. At that time, they should be at the pinnacle of cultivators below the Sovereign King realm. Although Yi Shang felt that their achievements would not be great and their comprehension was average, they were still strong. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow washed up. When he went to the courtyard, Yu Qing put on Night Moon's king battle suit for Night Sorrow. You have to be careful today. Don't be like yesterday. Mother, don't worry. I won't be soft today. Since I've chosen this path, I can only go down it, Night Sorrow said. Then, under the lead of Qian Zhenyu, Yunyu, and another king, the participants of the Xian celestial realm came to the square. There were only 500 people fighting today. After 2 fights, there were only a little more than 100 people left. The remaining 50 people would fight to determine the top 100. In other words, the top 100 would be decided after 3 rounds at most. As for the ranking of the last 100 people, it was a little more complicated. First, they would enter the Jiuxiao Tower to see who had the highest height. At the same time, they would get a title. However, this ranking was not the final ranking. It was just a temporary ranking. After the ranking of the tower was out, those with a lower ranking could challenge if they were not convinced. Of course, they couldn't challenge whoever they wanted. Everyone had 10 chances to challenge. Each time, they couldn't exceed the top 10 of their own ranking. Also, there couldn't be 2 challenges. Night Sorrow felt that this method was very reasonable. This competition was based on real strength. There would be no luck or coincidence. Whoever was better would go up. After drawing lots, the battle started again. In the second call, it was Night Sorrow's turn. His opponent was an old man who was also a half-step king. Do you admit defeat? Once the battle starts, it will only be life and death, Night Sorrow asked as he waved his reincarnation spear. The old man didn't say anything and directly attacked with his saber. Night Sorrow waved his spear and began to fight. With the support of Night Sorrow's 90% willpower, the old man was no match for him. Night Sorrow killed him with his 7th spear strike. Night Sorrow cupped his hands to Yu Qiong and King before returning to his seat. Not bad. You can't blame anyone for seeking death, Qian Ziwei said with a smile. Night Sorrow, if you're lucky, you'll advance after another battle, said Qian Yu. You have to be careful. Night Sorrow reminded him because the remaining cultivators were all experts. It wasn't easy to win every battle. Qian Yu nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow had won easily. That was because Night Sorrow was strong. If they were on the same level, the battle wouldn't end so quickly. Next was Qian Ziwei's turn. Her opponent was very strong. He was a half-step king who had grasped the will of wind. He relied on his speed to tangle with Qian Ziwei. Speak. Chapter 10-15. Just as Yi Shang and the others were getting anxious, the situation changed. Qian Ziwei's mysterious heaven sword art suddenly changed direction. Her sword aura became sharp and powerful. Waves of sword energy flew through the air, creating a sharp whistling sound. After changing her sword technique, Qian Ziwei's body shined with a black light. Her speed also increased. Her opponent no longer had an advantage in speed. He was suppressed by Qian Ziwei, and after one of his arms was chopped off, he shouted loudly and admitted defeat. Darkness-type sword intent. Night Sorrow muttered. He hadn't expected Qian Ziwei to have 2 types of sword intent. Normally, she only used the lightning-type sword intent. She had never used the darkness-type sword intent. After winning, Qian Ziwei returned to her seat. Big sister, are you feeling unwell? Asked Qian Ziwei worriedly. I'm fine. I'm fine. Qian Ziwei shook her head. What's going on? Night Sorrow could see that Qian Ziwei's condition wasn't very good. Darkness-type sword intent is harmful to my big sister's body, so she usually doesn't use it in battle, said Qian Ziwei. Looking at Qian Ziwei, Night Sorrow took out a few drops of life elixir and gave it to her. This is good for your body. Try it. Qian Ziwei took a drop of the life elixir and began to recover. An hour later, Qian Ziwei was back to peak condition. Your elixir is pretty good. Thank you, said Qian Ziwei as she stretched. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, as long as it doesn't affect the next battle. Big Sister Ziwei, I'm sorry I couldn't help you. said Night Sorrow. Because Qian Ziwei had been defeated, her condition hadn't been very good. She couldn't hold on against a strong opponent. Qian Yu had passed, but it hadn't been easy. Night Sorrow, the next round won't be easy, said Qian Yu as he rubbed his forehead. He didn't have much confidence. Yes, there are no weak opponents. Every round won't be easy, said Qian Ziwei. After the first round, only half of the 500 people had passed. King Yu Qiong told everyone to rest. The second round would begin in 2 hours. After resting for 2 hours, the second round began. Those who advanced to the next round had a chance to enter the top 100 and obtain a reward. After the second round began, Night Sorrow waited quietly, but it was still not his turn to fight. Qian Ziwei advanced, and so did Shang Jingxian. However, Qian Yu failed. It wasn't because he wasn't strong, but because he was unlucky enough to meet Qing Yin. Qing Yin was the third disciple of no beginning sovereign. Although she was not the king, she was the top of the half-step king's attention. Qian Yu was naturally no match for her. The battles progressed one by one. Night Sorrow was the last to go up. He had seen his opponent before. It was Yu Wuhan from the Demon Moon realm. Do you admit defeat? Yi Shang asked after he stepped onto the stage with the reincarnation spear in hand. Yi Shang would always ask this question before every battle because once the battle began, he wouldn't hold back and would kill his opponent. You think too much. Last time, because Chen Bai and Hei Feng were in the way, you were able to take the limitless longevity fruit. Today, I, Yu Wuhan, will kill you and take back what belongs to me. After speaking, Yu Wuhan's body flashed as he charged at Night Sorrow. Then let's see what you're capable of. Night Sorrow did not move. He unsheathed his reincarnation spear and the tip of the spear collided with Yu Wuhan's sword. Following a crisp sound, Yu Wuhan was pushed back by Night Sorrow's spear. However, the robe on Night Sorrow's right arm was constantly trembling. That was the energy transmitted by the reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow's right arm shook and dispelled Yu Wuhan's soft and domineering energy. Following which, he used his innate bloodline energy to cut through the protective air barrier and caught up to Yu Wuhan. The reincarnation spear rapidly attacked. Yu Wuhan's body floated back and at the same time, she used her sword to block Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear attack. In fact, Yu Wuhan's sword attack was very fast. However, Night Sorrow's will of space accelerated even faster. Before Yu Wuhan could fully exert her strength, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear attack arrived. This kind of situation made Yu Wuhan very passive. She was unable to fully exert her strength and her energy was unable to fully burst forth. How could she be compared to Night Sorrow, who had a strong body? After suppressing Yu Wuhan, Night Sorrow's spear technique changed. He changed from the power of Desolates to the Void True Chi and directly executed the Void Extreme Kill. As Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear burst forth with a purple halo, the long sword in Yu Wuhan's hand was directly annihilated from the tip. As Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear pierced forward, the long sword in Yu Wuhan's hand was instantly destroyed. Yu Wuhan's expression changed when the Saint King longsword in her hand was destroyed. She quickly retreated. However, Night Sorrow's will of space and the law of Desolates were used at the same time. His speed reached an extreme. As he advanced, Night Sorrow's left hand spun and energy burst forth to restrain Yu Wuhan. Following which, the reincarnation spear directly pierced Yu Wuhan's chest. Just as Night Sorrow's energy burst forth and was about to destroy Yu Wuhan, he suddenly couldn't move. His entire body was suppressed by the powerful will of the world. He couldn't move at all and couldn't circulate his energy. At this time, a long sword appeared in Yu Wuhan's hand and directly pierced towards Night Sorrow's chest. Yu Wuhan, how dare you! The Purple Firmament Sovereign, who had been sitting in the main seat, stood up and directly sent a palm strike towards Yu Wuhan. You're courting death. The Black Heaven Sovereign also stood up, but he didn't attack. If the Purple Firmament Sovereign attacked, it would be 2 against 1. His reputation wouldn't be good. The Black Heaven Sovereign waved his hand to resolve the suppression of Night Sorrow by Yu Wuhan's longsword. At the same time, Yu Wuhan's longsword stabbed towards Night Sorrow's chest. At this time, everyone who cared about Night Sorrow stood up. They all knew that Night Sorrow had been attacked by Yu Wuhan. Yu Wuhan's attack was very fast. She directly stabbed Night Sorrow's chest 9 times in a row. Night Sorrow's body was sent flying. His robes were torn apart, but there was no blood on Night Sorrow's body. Under his torn robes, there were only a few white marks on his body. He waved his spear and forced Yu Wuhan back. Night Sorrow waved his left hand and a robe appeared on his body. Then he put on his robes. The monarchs attacked me. Very good. Today, there are no rules. Die. Night Sorrow's body flickered as he attacked Yu Wuhan. Yu Wuhan's expression changed. She didn't understand why she hadn't killed Night Sorrow a moment before. Night Sorrow was still at the peak of his strength. How could she fight against him? She could only dodge quickly. Being killed by Night Sorrow would only be a matter of time. At that moment, a great battle was going on in the sky. The Purple Firmament Sovereign and the Moon Demon King were still fighting, but the Purple Firmament Sovereign was suppressing the Moon Demon King. How dare you? What do you think the continent of the 9 clouds is? At that moment, an old man in cyan robes appeared out of nowhere. Let's go, shouted the Moon Demon King. He waved his sleeve and sent Night Sorrow flying. Then, he wrapped Yu Wuhan in his energy and ran away. Yu Wuhan, you fought against my fellow disciple today. I won't bully you. But remember, if you dare come to the continent of the 9 clouds again, I'll kill you, said the old man in cyan robes. Speak. Chapter 10:16. The old man was wearing a green robe with a special pattern. His hair, eyebrows, and beard were all white, but he didn't look old at all. Greetings, Monarch Shen Shao. At this time, all the sovereigns cupped their hands towards the old man. What have you done? That young man is fine, but if something had happened, how would we explain to the world that the first sacred ceremony of the 100 worlds can still be held in the future? The old man roared at the group of sovereigns. Senior brother, it's my fault. Monarch Zi Shao bowed to the old man. After so many years, you still haven't matured. Young man, come here. Are you okay? The old man waved at Night Sorrow. Thank you for your concern, Monarch. Night Sorrow is fine. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the old man. Brat, you sure are ruthless. Even though it was an emergency and I couldn't use my full strength, I still couldn't break through your physical body's defense. You will continue to get stronger. Zi Shao, watch carefully. If anything goes wrong again, I will teach you a lesson. The green-robed elder's body flashed twice and disappeared. Monarch King, I won this round, right? Night Sorrow looked at King Yuqiong and asked. Naturally, you won. You can go rest. Monarch Yuqiong was stunned for a moment before nodding. He didn't expect this to happen. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the monarch and returned to his seat. 13, are you okay? Seeing Night Sorrow return, Aoi held Night Sorrow's hand and asked. I'm fine. I just didn't expect to be tricked by the monarchs. Night Sorrow looked at the retreating Moon Demon World people. Night Sorrow, I want to ask, are you a human or some kind of gifted beast? Don't worry, no matter what race you are, we're brothers. Qian Yu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. What nonsense are you talking about? My parents are still here. Night Sorrow glared at Qian Yu. Uncle, auntie, don't mind me. I don't know how to talk. Qian Yu apologized to Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing. It's fine. You're just being honest, Yi Wuyo said. After Night Sorrow rested for 2 hours, the 50 people were selected to fight. After eliminating 25 people, the remaining people would enter the top 100 of the first saints of the 100 worlds. However, Night Sorrow's luck wasn't bad. He didn't get picked this time, which meant that he would enter the top 100 for sure. Something unexpected happened today. The challenge of the 9 Heavens Tower will be set for tomorrow, Sovereign Zishao said. The main thing was that time didn't allow for it. The 25 people who advanced later also needed to rest before fighting again. Yi Shang and the others returned to the guest house. Your Majesty, that cyan-robed elder is very powerful, Yi Shang said to Qian Jinyu after they entered the guest tower. Yes, he's the most virtuous and bad-tempered monarch of the 100 worlds. If there's a conflict between monarchs, he'll be the one to resolve it. No one won't give him face. The main thing is that he's strong. In the past, when the swift gale monarch messed around and didn't follow the rules, he killed him, said Qian Jinyu. He's bad-tempered, but he's reasonable. He hates people who don't follow the rules. This time, the moon demon monarch caused a big mess, said Yunyu. Is he retarded? He knows the divine night monarch's temper isn't good, but he still went looking for trouble, said Qian Ziwei. Normally, the divine night monarch doesn't show his face. Who knew that the moon demon monarch would suddenly appear? The moon demon monarch is unlucky, said Qian Jinyu. But Night Sorrow might be held a grudge against him. He's a potential threat, said Qian Yu. The moon-worshipping clansmen of the moon demon world are eccentric. They're really hard to deal with. You should be careful in the future, reminded Yun Yu to Night Sorrow. Then Night Sorrow returned to his room. Today's battle had shocked him greatly. A battle between monarchs was too terrifying. When he had fought with Yu Wuhan, the shockwaves from the battle between the Purple Firmament Monarch and the Invitation Monarch had greatly suppressed him. Tomorrow is the ranking battle. Today's matter is over. However, this kind of thing can happen again. We have to be careful at all times. Wu Lingfei said to Yi Shang. Aunt Fei, I understand. Today was probably an accident. With the Divine Night Monarch's deterrence, there shouldn't be any big problems, said Night Sorrow after thinking for a moment. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, if he's a gentleman, then it's fine to offend him. The most despicable people are the despicable ones. The Moon Demon Monarch attacked you, which shows that he has no bottom line. He might hold a grudge and seek revenge, said Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow nodded. The fact that the Moon Demon Monarch attacked him meant that there was something wrong. In his heart, his self-interest was paramount. He didn't care about rules or morals. It was very likely that he would deal with him in the future. The reason was simple. Because of Night Sorrow, he had lost face and had to flee. After Wu Lingfei left Night Sorrow's room, Night Sorrow lay on the big bed. He didn't need to cultivate now. What he needed was to relax and prepare for tomorrow's battle. At this time, Qian Jinyu and his wife were talking. Jinyu, the situation isn't very good. We know what the people of the Moon Demon world are like. This time, because of Night Sorrow, they've lost face. I think they'll seek revenge, said Yunyu. Let's not talk about this for now. It's the time of the competition. Night Sorrow can't be affected too much. When the competition is over, we'll remind him, said Qian Jinyu. After resting for the night, Yi Shang woke up early. After washing his face and rinsing his mouth, Yi Shang waved his reincarnation spear in the courtyard and stretched his muscles. Then Qian Jinyu and the others took the people of the Xian celestial realm to the continent of the 9-cloud square. At this time, only 4 people from the Xian celestial realm were going to enter the round of the first saint of the 100 worlds. They were Night Sorrow, Qian Ziwei, Shang Jingxian, and Yu Wenhan. Shang Jingxian had the blood of fury, which could increase his fighting capacity by 30%. It was a terrifying talent. There weren't many contestants today, but there were more and more people watching. After all, it was the key to enter the round of the first saint of the 100 worlds. They could get a title. A title was a symbol of achievement. They could also get some luck. Night Sorrow also noticed that the people of the Moon Demon world had retreated. It should be said that they had been expelled. What the Moon Demon Monarch had done made the leaders of the continent of the Nine Clouds unhappy. The other monarchs didn't like him either. Today's competition is to pass the continent of the Nine Clouds Tower. Whoever passes the highest will be temporarily ranked first. Of course, the continent of the Nine Clouds Tower also has a title certification. You know what it means. I won't tell you, said King Yuqiong. Brother Night Sorrow, you have to work hard. This title is really important, said Xian Ziwei to remind Night Sorrow. Don't worry, Sister Ziwei. I'll work hard, said Night Sorrow nodding. She said. Chapter 4. Chapter 10:17. The nature of Jiuxiao Tower was similar to that of the Ceiling Sky Palace. It was Dao. She looked confused. There are talents in every generation. Seems like he's destined to be the most dazzling one. He's too young. He's a king in 100 years. If he can enter the king realm before he's 200 years old, he'll be a legend, said King No Beginning. Cultivation is one thing. The main thing is that he has fighting power that matches and surpasses his cultivation. I don't know whose disciple he is. Does Xian Tian know? King Zi Shao asked King Xian Tian. I know a little about him. He's from a small world. His teacher in the small world hasn't entered the Saint Realm yet. He doesn't have a teacher in Tianxian world. He's a disciple of the Tianding Gate. I think he's a Saint King alchemist, said King Xian Tian, stroking his beard. The natives of a small world can actually be so heaven-defying and tyrannical. The monarch of the Yuan spirit world sighed with emotion. King Yuan Ling, there's hatred in our generation, but don't involve the young people, said King Xian Tian, looking at King Yuan Ling. Xian Tian, we have fought for countless years, and we will continue to fight in the future. But please remember that I, Yuan Ling, am not a petty person. You should be careful of that bastard Yao Yu, said Sovereign Yuan Ling. King Xian Tian nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow had provoked a mad dog. The moon-worshipping clan of the Moon Demon world were all mad. They were vengeful. Why are the 100 worlds of the continent of the Nine Clouds so stable? It's because we fight on small matters. We know what's right and what's wrong. The continent of the Nine Clouds is strong, so the other worlds don't dare to provoke us. We can fight, but we can't do things without rules. As for the Moon Demon world, we'll see how to deal with it later, said King Zi Shao. Hearing King Zi Shao's words, all the kings nodded. Night Sorrow had reached the 100th step. Almost everyone was at the same level, but their states were different. The half-step king realm cultivators who had strong rules and willpower didn't consume much energy. The half-step king, whose power of rules and power of will were weak, and the peak saint king, who had not grasped the power of will and only had strong battle prowess, had already expended a lot of energy at this time. Night Sorrow ignored the people around him and continued forward. He had not used any other energy yet, mainly because his body was strong enough to withstand it. Saint King Slaughter, Black Demon Saint King, and a few other contestants noticed Night Sorrow because Night Sorrow's performance was indeed dazzling. As they advanced, Night Sorrow released the spatial rule. This way, they could advance faster and offset a portion of the suppression. With the law of space resisting the pressure, Night Sorrow's progress was much smoother. Gradually, he overtook a portion of the others and entered the first echelon. Qian Ziwei, who was not far away from Night Sorrow, was confused. She did not understand what was going on with Night Sorrow. Even in the area where the peak Saint King's energy was suppressed, Night Sorrow was still able to walk freely. This was something no one else could do. It was true that everyone was able to advance, but it was as tiring as fighting. However, Night Sorrow was still as carefree as ever. Say, you're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.